we go flying through a couple of buildings here, welcome to Heathrow Airport and the British Airways side of doing things. There is where the real Concorde is currently housed, but we're going to go over to the Concorde's original gate here, and we're going to change liveries. Hello and welcome to another one of those cold and dark videos. Now, this is an airplane that I'm relatively new to, but I kind of feel like this has been pretty popular over on the Spy Flat on Twitch, so I wanted to do sort of a first take kind of cold and dark video. And hello, I'm Dave. I do the 757 Spy Flights over on Twitch, and I do some occasional cold and dark videos here on YouTube, and even some spy food videos here on YouTube. But thank you for coming by today. Let's jump right into what it is that we're going to be doing today. And what we're doing here on this particular flight is we're going to be doing a British Airways Concorde flight from London Heathrow to Washington Dulles. The original Concorde gate was 421, I believe. And this was before the terminal that you saw on the scenery was built. So we're a little historic right now. Add-ons that I'm using for this flight, I'm using SkyVector, Navigraph data and charts. I'm using Better Pushback. And I do have a couple of payware airports today. The Aerosoft for Heathrow and a new Washington Dulles airport from Nimbus. So some nice paywares that you can get over at xplane.org. As always, I'm keeping this super simple. The goal is to help new people like me get the airplane started up, pushed back, take off, cruise, land, make it to the gate, and not make the evening news. That's sort of the plan here. Now, here's the deal. This is probably the most complex airplane that I've dealt with in X-Plane or in any sim. So beware of rabbit holes in this now. We're keeping this very simple on this one. Quick hint, if you're using Active Sky for weather like I am, somebody told me on the live stream yesterday, turn off turbulence. This airplane does not handle the turbulence well. And finally, I always like to say that this is not about the right way versus the wrong way, okay? There are certainly some wrong ways that I'm doing here, and this is all about learning. This is what works for me, and hopefully it helps you get up in the air as well. First timer, if you've never done a cold and dark with me right now, fly along with me. So stop and start the video, and then I suggest you do your own flight to one of your hometown airports. Now, Concorde obviously didn't go to some of the smaller regional airports that some of us might live near, but try and do your own flight. Stopping and starting the video, that's the nice part. Over on Twitch, it's live. Here in YouTube, you can stop the video. You can roll it back if I did something a little too fast to try and catch every button press. And of course, after that, I do suggest please join us on the Spy Flights. We have a fairly decent time over there, and we're flying new and fun airplanes. This is our route of flight today from London to Washington. We're departing London 09 right, cruising at flight level 600. That's 60,000 feet. We're doing the Compton departure. I don't know why I have it listed there twice, but Compton departure and a couple of the checkpoints. And the NAT track that we're doing is NAT SM. Now, these are not the NAT tracks that you're used to. These are the Concorde. So I'm going to guess that the S might be for supersonic or something. And then we're coming in via Albany and then the Hyper 8 arrival to Washington Dulles 19 Center. Now, the thing about that is I'm expecting the runway to change. When I did this flight plan, Dulles was landing on the 19s. I kind of expect that to change because of the weather, so we're going to keep an eye. This is going to be a 3-hour and 57-minute flight. I'm going to be stopping the video and time compressing this just a little for you. We are going 3,332 nautical miles. Lots of numbers to look at. If you're a passenger, you're just going to look at the departure board there. That gives you your departure time, your arrival time, how long. Weather, this is sort of the reason why it is that I'm concerned about a runway change. We got some weather out over the Atlantic, but also there's a little weather system coming into Washington Dulles. So again, I'm expecting that runway to change. That's good because we really do need to deal with runway changes here. Our departure time is 35 minutes after the hour, so let's hop into the cockpit here and get going. This is the time for you to pause your video and get your airplane ready to go. This is cold and dark, and we are here at London Heathrow. Set your airplane at the gate that I'm at, and follow along. So the first thing that we're going to do on this one is we're going to come over here, and in the lower left-hand corner, we're going to hit the Concorde FXP GUI button, Graphical User Interface, or GUI, as the techie people like to call it. And we're going to be doing flight preparation. By the way, another reason that we're doing this flight, this is the Concorde for X-plane. This is a super complex airplane. You probably heard that there is a Concorde that's coming out for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator is much more of a visual experience, so I don't expect it to be this complex, but this is probably a good first look at what to expect, a little bit of what Concorde's going to probably be like. Flight preparation. We're going to go and we're going to start with the payload manager. And Concorde basically was all one class. It was basically super duper first class. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to carry on this flight 99 passengers. So a couple of seats might be open. Let's also go ahead and we're going to add a little bit of cargo here. I usually add about 2.5. I think it's around 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 kilograms of cargo. So there's about 2.5 kilograms of cargo. So I've kicked all this up to a zero fuel weight of 89.1 tons. So that's good to go there. And this is right now our range is at 3,419 nautical miles. Let's go to the fuel manager here. So right now I've got 90.219 kilograms of fuel. This should do it. We're going 3,332 miles. This is good for 3,400. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and I'm going to add, let's hit the button here and add just a little bit of fuel. So I just add a little bit of fuel. 90, this is 3,434. There's 348. I'm going to go to 91.820 kgs of fuel. We're still underweight for takeoff. That's no problem. I'm just going to add a little bit more. This fuel weight here is basically set for Heathrow to New York's JFK. I will tell you that SimToolkit Pro and SimBrief do not play nicely with Concordes. So you kind of have to do your own thing. That's why most of my flight planning on today's flight here was with SkyVector. And I'm going to be putting links to these websites. These are some of the websites that I've done for today's flight planning. First of all, I've gone over here to Concorde Flight Plans. And looked over here and taken a look at the Washington flight plans. Here are Concord tracks. This is from ganderoceanic. This is for a VATSIM service. And so we're going to be doing we're doing the S&M version. And there goes the jokes right off the rails again. So we're going to be doing the northern track here. So we're going to be doing this track here. These tracks were different. Most of the tracks that you see for oceanic travel are not for 60,000 feet and supersonic. So these were a little bit different. And I've also gone and created a navlog. This is a navlog that you can get from, SkyVector. And so this is where I'm getting some of my latitudes and longitudes. Spoiler alert, I am not converting my latitudes and longitudes correctly, but we'll see. We'll see how it works. It worked okay on the other flight into Kennedy, so let's see about here. There is some icing. There is moderate icing off the U.S. coast and part of our track, so we need to be ready with anti-ice. And there's also turbulence in the area, too. Again, if you're using Active Sky at the moment, people have told me turn off turbulence in Active Sky. The airplane gets cranky. And nobody wants a cranky airplane. Let's start doing some of the fun stuff with this. We're going to go to the aircraft now. And we've already done fuel. Let's go to doors and ground. So we're going to need a ground power unit. The Concorde did not have an APU. So you have to have a ground power and air conditioning to start. The jetway is not working today, so we're going to have to get stairs and we're going to open the door. Let's get a catering truck, because we're going to need catering for sure. We're going to also open the back door for catering, because there's two galleys for catering. We'll also get the conveyor belts, a fuel truck. Let's get the refueling panel open and the cargo bays open as well. And so we can go and open all of those doors. And wow, look at that. There's our fuel truck. The cargo. Okay, see that cargo door? That cargo door is not open. We forgot something. Go back to aircraft. Go back to doors. Up, you got to open the cargo door and open the cargo door here. Conveyor service. Okay, that's good. Now let's see. See there? Yeah, the cargo was back here. So there's also a cargo here, and this one had to be just an absolute bear to load, because if you look up here, there's the ramp and there's the door underneath. Famously, if you saw the movie Airport 79, this was the cargo door that the evil people sabotaged in that over there. So we've also got a power cart, and we've also got air conditioning going into the airplane. Again, this airplane did not have an APU. They just couldn't afford the weight. So all of that is in there. And there's our stairway up to the airplane. And now let's go ahead and jump into the best seat in the house. Our departure time is in 25 minutes. So we got to get ready to go. If you join me over on Twitch someday, you'll find out that we have a Discord server. And Discord is where you'll find a lot of these notes that I put in here. These are my notes for today's flight. I will put, these are over on Discord. They're changing. They need some work, but I'm going to be putting those there. Now you can see my basic flight plan notes, and the flight plan notes, these are things that I've gone and I've clipped these in to our, into the description here on YouTube, including my SIVA waypoint list. Yes, these are all the SIVA waypoints here. To get us in there. I expect we're going to be changing these last 3 waypoints after hyper, because again, I'm expecting a runway change, but I'm going to show you how I do that. All right, so the flight preparation is done. We've got our passenger load. We've got our fuel load. Doors and ground is open. We've got the power attached. Charts and flight plan are good. I am using the Navigraph charts today. This is our route. So we are over here at gate 421. So we're going to be departing out of here. We're going to be taking off on runway 9 and doing the Compton 5 Juliet departure. That is an immediate turn after takeoff to a heading of 281 degrees. We're going to be looking for the Woodley non-directional beacon, and then at Compton, somewhere between Woodley and Compton, we're going to engage the SIVA. Coming in, this is the Hyper 8 arrival. And yes, we've had plenty of coffee to stay hyper. Right now, we are expecting ILS runway 19 center, but I'm preparing for a runway switch. So very possibly switching to 1 right. And then after that, I believe that British Airways parks in the Alpha gates here. So over at this is the famous main terminal here at Dulles. So we're going to be going to the Alpha gates. Looks like Alpha 32 might be a good gate for this one because it's a single jetway. And we don't need double jetways for this. So, like I said, lots of little rabbit holes to jump into, but that's what we've got right now. Let us start turning on the airplane. So, preliminary cockpit. And one of the things that this airplane has is a very, very nice checklist system. I have incorporated a lot of the checklist items in my little flow file that I'm going to be showing you. So basically, that's why I'm not using the checklists. But eventually, when I don't need my flows, then I'll be using the checklist because there's a lot to forget. Okay, so this is a 3-person cockpit, and we're going to go back here to the flight engineer, and we do have 2 lights on here. So these 2 little lights here are ground power, and this is indicating that the power carts are plugged in. So let's go ahead and batteries can go on. So we got batteries on. Now the immediate thing to do is, this is some old school stuff. So the next thing to do is come over here and turn on what's called equipment cooling, because this airplane can get a little bit on the warm side. And equipment cooling is right up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equipment cooling. Okay, now if we're nighttime, we would want to go and start adjusting our lights so that we can see everything. So let's turn all this stuff up here. And these things are looking pretty good. So all that looks good. Now, one of the things that I've seen on various videos is something called drain master heaters. Some people say turn them on now. Some people say turn them on later. Let's just get that done. Okay, now we're going to look down here. That could be one of the things that's wrong. I'm not sure. Now, we got to go over here to the flight engineer panel. We go all the way down to the floor, and there's a little switch down here. And you kind of have to do it this way because it's guarded. So you have to click it and then turn on the passenger, the oxygen. And so that's how we do that. Now we can look down here, and it's time to start aligning the INS SEVA system. And you can use the payware. I've been trying to stick with as much default as I can. So the first thing we're going to do is go to standby, standby 1, standby 2, and standby 3. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the main INS SEVA, and we're going to go to position, and right now it automatically puts your position in for you. So, and it's done that for each one of these. So we're just going to confirm this. Normally we'd have to enter it manually. Now that we've done that, we can look back here, and we're going to go to align, and a white light should pop on. Okay, so the white light has popped on there, and that takes care of those. Now we can come down here. We're going to turn on the air data computers. They're noisy. So we got the air data computers, and let's look up here. Let's turn on the nav lights. Let people on the ground know that there's somebody sitting up in the cockpit pushing buttons. That could be a problem. Let's also do the no smoking light because we are refueling the airplane. And we're going to also come and start turning on some of the upper panel lights here. So we're going to turn off center lighting, and we're going to turn on the roof lighting here and backlight this. Back in the main captain's view, we've got some lighting controls down here. So we can come and turn on some lights here. This backlights a lot of the instruments, and I'll turn these up a little bit too. And now everything's starting to kind of pop out. So those are the pilot's lighting, and so all of that's good. And that's the first part of the flow. Next thing, master circuit breakers. That's all these little white switches up here. So let's go ahead and do all the master circuit breakers in. Okay, after electric trim 2, it's going to beep. Okay, we got a couple beeps. Let's keep going. There was the yaw beep, and there's some more beeps. Let's also, all of the other switches here are good, but you need to turn on the anti-stall switches. Altimeters. Let's go and see what we got. Weather. There's several places that I go for weather. Right now we're going to go to METAR-TAF. And let's go ahead, and let's just refresh this for Heathrow. There is Heathrow. This is 21-1350 Zulu. That's good for us. So here is our latest weather. I do like to copy these off when I can, and I will take these over. You saw the little flight notes here, and I'm going to put these right in there. So right now, winds are 150 at 6. So 9 left is still a good runway for departure. Ceiling and visibility is wide open. 16 degrees, dew points 3. The altimeter, 1027. And guess what time it is? It is time to do the altimeters. So 1027 on the altimeters. There's the captain's altimeter. So dial this up to 1027. There we go. And you also need to reset the flight engineer, the co-pilots. So 1027. There we go. Altimeters are checked and set. Audio panel. If we were on VATSIM or IVAO, we would want to be talking on the radio. And to do that, we turn on the radio here. You would also maybe start presetting a frequency, and you can preset frequencies right here. Let's go, and even though we're not, we're going to go to 122.8. That's usually the one that I like to leave my frequencies on. 122.8. Let's also, we would get a squawk code from ATC. We're going to go ahead and dial that in right now too. So we're good to go there. Now that those are good, our cleared altitude, if we were on, we might get a cleared altitude in our clearance, but since we're doing the Compton 6 departure, let's go ahead, and we have a altitude constraint here, no higher than 6,000 feet. So that's going to be our cleared altitude. So 6,000 feet in the autopilot. Okay, so that's good. Cleared altitude. Nav 1 and Nav 2 radios. So we're going to set some radios here. I'm going to set my Nav 2 to London, 113.6. So that one is over here. So 113.6. This is going to give me a DME from the airport. And then I'm going to set my other one to the Compton VOR, 114.35. So 114.35. After takeoff, we're going to want to intercept the 281 degree radial for Compton. So I'm going to pre-dial this to 281. We're also going to dial our runway heading for 09 right, and that's 089 degrees. So 089. You could also drag these. And then fine-tune it. 089. Okay, so there's our runway heading and 281. Now, I think we're going to be flying by hand on this for the first part. So you know what I'm going to do? Instead of runway heading, I'm going to want to intercept 281. I'm going to dial in 281. Let's live dangerously, because that's going to be when we're going to want to start engaging the autopilot anyway. So let's put that in there. And then finally, I'm going to do an auto throttle. Of course, 250 knots off the runway below 10,000 feet. There's 250 knots. So that's good to go too. Now then, we're going to go ahead and turn on the throttle master switches. These are up here, and we're going to do the alternate. We'll switch to main later on. Fuel heaters. We're going to turn on fuel heaters. This is back here in the engineers area. So fuel heaters are right here. So let's do fuel heaters to auto. Fuel heaters are now auto. The secondary air doors. These are, we're going to turn these to auto. These are called the reheats or the afterburners. So we've got those throttle masters, fuel heaters, and secondary, and we're done with that. Okay, now it's rabbit hole time. It's time to go into the INS SEVA. Now, normally you really need to come down here and put them all in remote. So we're going to start at the bottom. I don't think that's a problem with this airplane right now with the way this SEVA works, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's a good thing to do. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to put the first officers, waypoint and remote. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to go to waypoint and remote. That ties them all together. And now it's time for us to go and start putting SEVA waypoints in. So you saw in my list here, these are all the SEVA waypoints we're going to be able to use on this flight. There are, you can put them in 9 at a time. And so what we're going to do is I usually go and I will highlight the first SEVA waypoint and I will pop that in there. So I have this sitting over on the other monitor, and let's go ahead and do this. So our first SEVA waypoint is north, and it's 51.27.7. 51.27.7. You don't have to put the decimal point in. SEVAs do that for you. Now, over on the payware, the Phillips version, you would hit insert. Not on this one. Now, after you put in the first number, put in west, and it's 00052.7. 00052.7. Make sure it's correct and hit insert. Yes, you have to do the zeros. Okay, number 2. This is going to be the Compton VOR. This is probably going to be our first VOR waypoint, our first SEVA waypoint. So it's going to be north, 51.29.5, 51.29.5, west, 001132, 001132. 001132. Insert. I actually suggest, now you family at home and stuff, they're going to listen to you and they're going to go, he's talking to himself. But say it out loud. Say it as you're putting it in, and then read it back while it's fresh in your active random access memory here. Trust me, you know. And if people are looking at you strange, just tell them to, well, they just won't understand. North. This is Malby. 51.35.6, 51.35.6, 51.35.6, west, 002037, 002037, 00237, insert. That gives you a relatively good feeling about you're entering your data correctly. And I have to imagine that in the old days, entering in SEVA waypoints was no fun at all. Now, there was another pilot in there to check and make sure you did it right, but still. Okay, let's go to north. This is going to be Kessup. North. It's going to be 51195. 51195. Oh, and another safety tip. Type slowly. These buttons are cranky because they're old. West 003393 339.3 00. Insert. Number 5. And as I'm doing this, I'm over here and I come over here and I highlight the next one. That's how it is that I know which one I'm doing. And that's just the best way to do this. North 5120. 5120.0. West 0050. So 00, 5, and then zeros. That's one of the neat things about the NAT tracks. There's an awful lot of zeros in these things. There's number 5, number 6. Okay, this is Leslu. And I believe Leslu is our, either Kessup or Leslu. One of those two is our speed up points. We'll look at that. North, I forget. 51 and zeros. 51 and then zeros. West, 008 and zeros. 008 and then zeros. And that's good. Number 7. It gets significantly easier here. Okay, this is our first Atlantic track for Concorde. North 5041.0. 5041.0. West 015 and zeros. 015 and zeros. This is not exactly the right way to say, verbalize these kinds of latitudes and longitudes, but it helps me put the numbers in relatively correctly, and that's the goal. So next one is north, 50-50. 50, 50, 0. West, 02 zeros. 02 and lots of zeros. Again, type slowly, insert. And then the last one is going to be Atlantic track number 3 on this one. And it's north. 50, 30 and zeros. 50, 30 and zeros. West, 03 and lots of zeros. And insert. There we go. So back. 50-50, 5041. I'm just looking at the first number. Next one is 51. So this is number 6. It's 51. Then 512, 51195, 51356, 51295, 51277, and all of this is good. Okay, so we've done our first column. Okay, you get to take a break. So those are your first SIVA waypoints on my to-do list. And now it's time to do before starting engines. So let's go on up here, and we're going to do the pitch index. To take off, pitch index is 13 degrees. There's about 13 degrees right there. Okay. Clock. We're going to switch the clock over here to chrono. Doors and ground. It's time to start closing. It is 14:29. We have 6 minutes to push back. So it's time to close the doors. And again, one of the things is for participating in things like cross the pond and stuff, your departure time has to be accurate. Okay, so we are done with refueling and cargo. Let's go ahead and be done with this door for catering and that door for cargo. So we're going to close catering. We're going to do the fuel truck. We're going to get rid of the conveyor belts. We are done with the forward catering. And then the last thing to do is button up. So stairs and door. Probably should have done door first. Okay, so there we go. Doors and ground. Pushback truck. Let's go ahead and get better pushback. So we do better pushback. And let's start the pushback.
Ground to cockpit. Please show me where you want to go.
Okay, so here we go over here, and we're just going to do a gentle push like this. and enter.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
All right, while the tow's driving up, final checks in here. Let's do the master warning checks. Let's turn on the fireworks. There's all of our fireworks. Okay, there's the firework test. So all that's good. Let's look down here. Everything's looking good there. How about our alignment? Look at this. They're all green. Okay, so with SIVA INS, they're all green, so we can go number 1 to nav, number 2 to nav, number 3 to nav. And they're all green and they're all nicely aligned. So that takes care of those. Transponder. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do the first switch on the transponder. We're squawking 2000.
Okay,
if we were on VATSIM,
all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
Ready to connect. So this is when I'm usually up here. I usually would have done seatbelts by now, but let's turn the anti-collision lights on, and we should be on talking to ATC, getting our clearance. So make sure your throttles are idle. My throttles are idle. Okay, those are good. Engine feed pumps. So engine feed pumps, these are the fuel pumps, and boy, are there a lot of them in this airplane. So we're going to go engine 1, engine 2, engine 3, engine 4. Look at all those feed pumps. Engine feed pumps are now on. Air bleed valves, that's these things up here.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
We'll do that when we're ready. We're not ready to do the pushback yet. So let's go and get engine bleeds open, and cross bleeds are open too. There's pneumatics. These pneumatics, the pneumatics are coming from that ground card out there. So cross bleeds are good. And guess what? It is now time to do a gate start because we need the power cart. So gate start for engine number 3. And that's going to be down here. Here's the starter knobs. And so let's go engine 3, start. Look down here real fast, and there goes engine 3's N2. N2 is on top at 12%. Come up here and turn on the fuel. And let's go and listen. Somebody on live stream said that sounds like the Batmobile starting up. Okay, engine 3, are we at 67%? Almost. There is 67%. Now at this point in time, we can start doing a few things here. Let's go up here, and we start off with engine condition. So that's, I believe, air conditioning. So engine conditioning, and then we look over here, and we're going to do the blue hydraulic pump for engine 3. Yes, it's green, yellow, and blue. Shades of Airbus to come. And guard it. So that goes on there. So blue hydraulic generator switch for number 3. It's 2 clicks for the generator. Then we do cross bleed off. There we go. Now we can go to the GUI, and we can go back in here. We go to aircraft, ground, and they can disconnect the ground air. And after that, we now get to do engine number 2. So remember engine number 2. There's the starters. Here is number 2. Sometimes the click zones on these aren't great, so it's best to try and, get yourself. There you go. There's engine 2. Sometimes you got to move yourself around to click them. There's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 at 12. Fuel. And you can see it's pretty quiet in here. Outside, of course, it's good and noisy. And we're starting both the engines here on the ground. We're watching this come up here. So engine, the N2 on top, there's the N1. There's fuel used. Here's exhaust gas temperature. And this thing really starts to take off after about 30. There are lots of beeps and stuff on this airplane. I think every time a status changes here, whenever something up here changes, it's going to beep at you. I originally, didn't really freak out, but it beeped at me all the time. I thought, what did I do wrong this time? I think it just notifies you when it does stuff. Okay, same drill as before. We're going to get conditioning on for engine number 3. We're going to do now it's going to do the green for engine 2, excuse me. So conditioning and the green hydraulics go on. We're going to come down here and trip in the generators for that, and then we can go and turn off the air bleed system. And now with that, we can go back to the GUI. Last time, go to aircraft, go to doors and ground, and we can let them know that they can disconnect the ground power. So they can disconnect ground power. Now that we've got 2 engines going, we can do the visor. So we're going to drop the visor. The nose isn't going downtown, it's just the visor first. And ground power is disconnected. And now we can release our parking brake and start to push back. Parking brake is down here. I have this remoted to a control on my Thrustmaster controllers. I am using the Airbus stuff. I'm using the Airbus Thrustmaster, and it works pretty good with this airplane. Right now, all of my engines are all connected to just one thrust lever. So, at some point, I'll probably get a second set of throttles, so I'll have 4 Airbus throttles. And as we're pushing back, we can now go and start engine number 1. Here comes engine 1. There goes engine 1's and 2. At 12%, we can introduce fuel as we push back. You can see the visor has dropped down here. Airplane looks kind of funny with the visor down. Notice how far back the nose wheel is from the cockpit. Yes, Virginia, that does mean that you're going to have to deal with you are going to have to deal with some nose wheel steering. And we're still waiting for 67%. And this is about the end of our push anyway. There's 67%. Engineering panel. We are going to do conditioning for 1.
Complete. Set parking brake.
And so I've got a controller. There goes the parking brake lever. So that's good.
Disconnecting toes. Stand by.
Okay, and with this, we can do conditioning. We're going to do engine 1 hydraulics on the blue system. We're going to do the generator. And we're going to do this. While they're disconnecting this, we can go and do engine number 4. The outer engines, it's easy to turn the switch on from far away. The inner engines are kind of a bear. And fuel. I've seen some people turn on 2 hydraulic systems. When you turn on the hydraulic system for green, they'll do both engines. I'm kind of doing them one at a time. I don't know if that's the way to do it or not, but...
pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
All right, hand signal on the left. Thanks for the nice push. And then if you look over here, you'll see the tug coming out over here because it's so much... they're behind us. And we'll look over here. And we'll get our salute and release from guidance. That means that we are free to taxi, that there's nobody under the airplane. They've done a check for foreign object damage, and we should be good. Okay, last one. So we're going to go ahead and do conditioning. All of our conditioning is on. We can now turn on the final. And then we can also turn on the yellow hydraulic system too. Yellow hydraulics are on. We'll do the generator. All of our generators are on. We'll do the cross bleed off. And now we're also going to do 2 other switches. So there's another electrical switch here, and it is the ground emergency bypass. So unguard it, and it goes down and guarded. And then we come up here and we do this SSB switch and we close that. And very important, I learned this watching Sim Caesar over on Twitch, you need to turn the galley power on. Otherwise your beer's gonna get warm, your coffee's gonna get cold, and these are first class passengers, so you know what that means. All right, everything's looking good there. Let's do a flight control check. So flight controls, and you do this not just to be like real pilots, but as a sim pilot, sometimes your USB controllers will disconnect. Now is the time to make sure that it all works. And then you could also look down at this indicator here, and you can see this is the way everything works on this airplane. And the rudder pedals work too. So it's a good idea to do that. Master warning panel, is it clear and off? It is. Engine controls. Okay, this is back over here, and there is a big knob, and we do engine controls to flyover. So engine controls to flyover. Engine idle switch, that's down here, and it goes to low. Brake fans, turn them on now. Apparently they get warm. The visor now goes to 5 degrees, and so the droop snoot is actually going to, start drooping. It's 5 degrees for taxi, fully down for landing only. Okay, so that's good. And then we'll come back into the cockpit, look down here, and now we're going to do altitude reporting on. This is squawking mode Charlie, because we're going to start moving the airplane. Taxi, let's go ahead, and we're going to go to the GUI, and now we're going to get some help from the flight engineer. And we're going to tell the flight engineer to trim the airplane's fuel tanks for takeoff. Okay, so we got that. Auto ignition. So let's go up here and look for the auto ignition, and we need to turn these on. And they have these little wire bars to turn them all on at the same time. So you can see there's the up arrow and the down arrow. Auto ignition goes on. Auto throttles. Those are right down below. On. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The switches on this thing are amazing. Drain master heaters. This is where I had a check from another video. So drain master heaters are on. So we check those on. Then we look up here, pressure static heaters, make sure those are on. ATIS 1, 2, make sure those heaters are on as well. Back here, there is a D-air switch. And so this one goes on here. There's also another one here. And I've seen people turn these on some other airplane, on some other videos. I've seen them turn these off. I have not seen them turn these on. So I'm going to turn on this D-air switch on number 10. I may be screwing up there, so be ready. Okay, and taxi lights. Taxi lights have one of those little wires too. So taxi lights, so here's, you extend it and turn them on. You might need your turn off lights as well. Look up here, and I usually ring the no smoking sign as a cabin notification. We're going to start to roll, and it's time to go. Feet on the rudder pedals, parking brakes off, and it's time for us to go. Watch out for sheep on the runway. And you can see we're starting to roll. You're going to need a little power to get this airplane rolling. Once it is rolling, throttle back down, and it should, on flat surfaces, taxi at thrust idle. No flaps or anything like that on this airplane. So you don't have to worry about flaps or anything like that. And now all we have to do is, if we were on VATSIM, we would be getting taxi clearance or IVAO. I did my first flight on IVAO the other day. It was a really nice experience. They're very nice. So I definitely suggest checking them out. I'm going to be flying with them quite a bit. One of the things to do is, if you're using Navigraph and you're at a strange new airport, I do suggest using Navigraph's Follow Me stuff. I think that that's a really good idea. Okay, we're picking up a little speed here. Need to slow it down. And we're looking for the Sierra taxiway. There's Sierra right there. And so turn. You're going to see me turning what appears to be a little bit late. Remember, the nose wheel is about a mile behind the pilots. So we start the turn. And if you turn it just right, we should roll out of our turn. Now we're a lot further, but our nose wheel should stay on the center line. And that way we don't cut corners with the main gear. And there we go. So yeah, the big thing is you've got that you know, this is like behind seat number 5. So turning on the ground handling is definitely different. And now we're just going to taxi out via Sierra. There are a couple of preps that you could do right now that you would do during taxi. I generally try and get stuff set up before it's taxi time, because if you're at a busy airport, if you're on a network, you need to concentrate on the taxi. One important thing for flight simmers to do, make sure your chair's locked. When you're pushing the rudder pedals, you might lean back a bit. Be sure you lock your seat in. Be sure you lock your seat in. That can be a problem. We're indicating an airspeed of 22 knots, it looks like. 23, so we're speeding up a bit. So I want to slow my throttles a bit. The elapsed time has already kicked into gear. The current time is 14:46. We were out of the gate probably less than 5 minutes late. According to my schedule, we should be taking off at 14:45, so we should be taking off about now. I think right now at the moment we're 5 minutes late. That's not awful. But it's a good thing to start thinking about getting your times correctly, your departure time correct, because if you're going to be participating in big events, there's some big events that will require you to take off within 5 minutes. You know, be ready to go within 10 minutes of your departure time. I do have my hat switch set up so I can look like this. And I've got a button set up that's very convenient on my flight stick, so to return me to my main view. That's a really handy thing to have. Okay, we're still picking up speed, so let's go down to idle thrust. Now our speed's going down a bit. We got a couple of little turns here to do. So we got to do a little bit of a turn. The real pilots call this phase of flight sterile cockpit. And that's a time where you're not drinking coffee, you're not telling jokes, you're concentrating on your flight. Okay, there's 27 knots. We've got a bit of a turn here. I'm going to start into it early because I'm going a bit fast. And then be ready to go over here. These aren't 90-degree turns. If these were 90-degree turns, I'd be slowing down. I'm going to slow down for these two. These are a little tight. You want to be closer to 10 to 15 knots for a 90-degree turn. And chances are, if you are flying a Concorde, ATC is going to be extra nice to you. So at this point, ATC says, hey, Speedbird Concorde Flight 441, you are cleared for takeoff. So we can go right onto the runway. On this airplane, you should come to a complete stop on the runway. I'll show you why. There are 4 things to do before takeoff. We're going to turn heading to track on. We'll arm the reheats. Everybody knows them as afterburners. Call them reheats. Okay, coming up on a 90-degree turn here, so I'm doing a little bit of braking here, slowing us down. And there we are. Gentle turns. And look at that, 9 right. It's always good to see the markers are correct. Now, at this point, I might look a little bit more off to the side. Still slowing my airspeed down to about 10 knots. My ground speed, I guess. And around we go. My notes have a heading track button on the autopilot for now. I think I'm going to be changing this around and doing this in the autopilot setup. All right, lined up. Gently come to a stop. And here we go. So, autopilot, we're going to go from track to heading. So we've pulled it out. Reheats or afterburners, center ones first. You move them to the up position. Landing lights, we're going to go up here. And it's got a little bar, just like the other ones. Landing lights going up. If you want to be a nice pilot to the crew, I'm going to do one more. Ring of the bell, let them know that it's time. I'm going to do the takeoff monitor.
3, 2, 1, now.
Throttle is now just all the way full. So I just did my throttle all the way forward. And here we go, brakes are released. Remember, after takeoff, we're going to be doing a turn to the right.
Airspeed building.
I've just switched my Navigraph over to moving map on my departure.
100 knots. Power set. V1. Rotate.
They suggest a gentle rotation on this. And about 1,800 feet per minute. A little more. Okay, let's start our turn. Gentle turn to the right to come out on our heading. Speed.
Gear coming up.
Auto throttle. IAS acquire. I want it to hold 250 knots. Continuing to go around.
Gear up. Doors locked.
Presetting my climb rate now to about 18. I think I want to preset this too. Let's go to altitude acquire. And this should do vertical speed. I'm not quite ready to engage my autopilot yet, my full autopilot. Okay, it's holding me at 250 knots. There's nice 1,800 feet per minute. I'm not turning as tightly as I probably should. Now, at some point, I'd think that they would be telling me, okay, there we are. Let's go ahead and flight director.
Our back angle is high. Roll back.
Autopilot, heading track. Nope, I hit the flight director button. Whoops. Something about the flight directors. I have not seen anything about doing the flight directors yet. So I may be messing that up too. He hasn't told me, but I was going outside the airplane. I think you're supposed to turn off the afterburners about now. We're climbing nicely at 250 knots. All right, let's go. And let's go down to SIVA. Waypoint change. 0 to 1, insert, change. Now let's come up here, and we're going to go INS. And now SIVA has got control. Let's go from radio to INS. And this should be taking us to the Woodley non-directional beacon. Woodley is 352 degree, 352. So my ADF is set to 352. And look at this. There is, I believe, that's either Compton. That's either, well, it says VOR1. There is the Heathrow. I think that's VORs. I don't think that that's Woodley. So I may not have been doing that correctly. Okay, let's go ahead and reduce our rate of climb just a little bit, because we don't want to be going up too fast, and we got to go to 6,000 feet and stop. Okay, so looking at my flows, brakes were off, throttle's max, positive rate, gear is up, afterburners. There should have been a call. I might have done it too early or too late because we were watching the airplane go whizzing by. IAS acquire, we've done that. Autopilot 1 is on. Vertical speed is good. Adjust, track heading. Visor, we can put the visor up now. And we are in INS mode. Transition altitude out of Heathrow is 6,000 feet. So when we get to our 6,000 feet, we do transition. We could go over here now, and we could do the first officers. So first officer, 1013. There we go. And as we're approaching, I'm going to do 1013 here too. Or 2992 for transition. Now, if you want to look over here, this is how we're doing. We're doing relatively good. So we're supposed to be between 3,000 and 6,000 feet at this little spot here, between 4,000 and 6,000 feet at Woodley. There's the non-directional beacon. Then there is another spot, and we hold at 6,000 until Compton. Chances are, because we are a Concorde, ATC is going to want to help us out here. And so one of the things that they're going to do is they're going to want to speed us along our way because, you know, Speedbird and all that. So, okay, so we're coming up on the Compton VOR. I want to see if one of these things moves. I don't think I've got these set up. We are 12 miles from London. We're 16 miles from Compton. And we're going to do altitude acquire at 6,000 feet. And we heard a click. It's holding our altitude. 250 knots. We're being good pilots here. Sort of. Our speed up is before we go supersonic, we're going to be going through 350 is going to be our speed. And usually after Compton is about when we might expect a clearance for higher. And I'm going to be setting my clearance, my altitude up to maybe 28 to 30,000 feet. Okay, I did not see, okay, the green thing, but I think this green one right here, that's not pointing to Compton. I don't know what that's doing, so I clearly don't know what I'm doing with these things here. So one of those is not right. And I don't see a place where you change those. So something new to learn. We are 9 miles from Compton. SIVA is now going from spot 1 to spot 2, or checkpoint 1 to checkpoint 2, so it's being very good. Let's go ahead and shift this over here. We have 8 miles there. We have 8.2, so we're pretty close. These are supposed to drift a little bit. Let's also go over here, and we're going to go and do distance. We're going to do wind on this one. I don't think that wind really works well on this now. So I would usually leave this one on wind, and I would leave this one on status. I don't think that those are set up right at the moment. We are 6 miles from Compton. ATC is probably feeling very nice to us, so they're going to give us a call and say, Speedbird Concorde cleared to flight level 300, and high speed is approved. So high speed's approved. So 30,000 feet, and we're going to dial this up to 350. So that looks good. Okay, let's go ahead, and we're going to go auto throttle off.
Throttle off.
Roll the throttles all the way forward.
Should I change it?
Yes, that's the flight engineer saying, should we change the fuel? Trim for flight.
Trim to flight.
Very nice flight engineer to remind us of these things. Okay, so this is looking good. Let's go altitude acquire. And we're going to start our climb here, but we're also going to watch the speed up too. And now with everything set, I'm going to do airspeed acquire and auto throttle on. And this thing's coming up. We're slowly climbing. Once we get to 350 knots, we're going to start our climb, and we're going to kick this thing all the way up to 4,000 feet per minute. So 340. And
350 knots.
there we go. Let's be little easy on this. We're going to go to 3,000 feet per minute on the climb. We have just passed the Compton VOR. We are now going from checkpoint 2 to checkpoint 3. Okay, now that this is going, auto throttle, thrust, climb, altitude, engine rating now goes to flight. So let's go over here to engine rating to flight mode. So that's this thing. It's a down arrow on the wires. So flight rating. The brake fans can now be turned off. So we'll come over here and we do brake fans to off. Engine schedule goes to normal. Engine schedule normal. Altitude acquire is set. And we are doing good. Let's do a flyby. A really nice day over the UK. We're flying in real world weather. So ceiling and visibility is wide open. Okay, passing 10,000 feet. 10,000 feet, we get to go and do landing lights off. We'll take care of these lights. We'll also come up here and ring the bell, let the cabin crew know it's 10,000 feet. They're going to remind the passengers that they have to stay in their seats even while the seatbelt light is on. So holding 350, we're climbing really good now. Now we're going to kick this up even more. We are a very powerful airplane. We're burning buckets of fuel. So we're going to climb even faster. So 340, that looks good. We are 16 miles away from our next checkpoint. So a good way to keep a close eye on that is come out over here and use your moving map. If you stray off of the moving map like this, you know you've got a bit of a problem. So all of this is looking good. So 13 miles to our next checkpoint. Passing 15,000 feet. 350. 4. This is perfect. Of course, it will stop being perfect soon. At 28,000 feet, we're going to hit the Mach hold button. And we're going to try and keep Mach hold when we start getting to Mach hold here. We do stay below supersonic until we get to a point off the coast. So for this, I believe our supersonic speed up point is Kessup. So this is when we get to go and really kick in speed. Back in the cabin, the passengers are looking back here. This is seat 10A. Whenever I make flight reservations, I usually try and get 10A. So you can see that we've got our Mach is 0.75. There's the altitude, temperature outside the airplane, and our miles per hour. And that is all controlled from this little box right here. So there's 20,000 feet. Still looking good. Engines are at about 100% N2. And I think we're just going to chill until about 25,000 feet. In a conventional aircraft, I generally, if there's no turbulence or anything like that, I turn off seatbelts at about 25,000 feet. It's just kind of when I figure, when I've been a passenger, when they start doing those sorts of things. but I think that probably they would keep the passengers in their seats until after they do the supersonic stuff. So seatbelts are still on. We've done another turn. So one of the things that I do like to do is, and this, I'm going to dial my heading knob over to our present heading. And we are 57 miles from Kessup. That's 57 miles from our speed up point. Passing 24,000 feet. There's 25. Now at this point, I've seen some of the people, some of the other videos, they start to reduce their rate of climb just a little bit to about 3,000 feet per minute. We're at Mach 0.85, and it is picking up here. 26. You can hear the sounds of the airplane are changing just a little bit too. Mach hold gets engaged at 28,000 feet. Reset the altimeter to 60,000 feet, and we reduce the climb speed to 2,000 feet per minute. At our acceleration point, that's when we disengage the auto throttles. Throttles all the way forward. We will engage the reheats or the afterburners, and we will use our climb speed. Afterburners stay on until Mach 1.7. And we do that, start with the inboard and then the outboard. There's 28,000 feet. So Mach hold needs to go get engaged. And that's Mach 0.90. That's pretty close to what it is I think they want. Altitude now goes to 60,000 feet. Make sure that altitude acquire is still good. And climb speed, we're going to readjust this to 2,000 feet per minute. There we go. We're still a ways away from our acceleration point here. So I probably have climbed a little bit too fast. We should also turn off the takeoff monitor. I've got to put that in my notes too. Landing gear is up. There is a neutral position. I don't know if you do this to neutral or not. I haven't seen anybody else do it. So I don't know if you turn it off or not. Passing 32,000 feet. We are 34 miles away. We're holding at Mach 0.90, so that's pretty good. I actually think we were supposed to go to Mach 0.95. How about let's go and disengage and get us to Mach 0.95. See what it does here. If we start to speed up, I think that's kind of what we're supposed to do. Be a good airplane, speed up for us. So we may need to bump these throttles forward a bit. I think I was supposed to acquire Mach 0.95. There's 9.1. Still climbing like a rocket here. 9.2. Altitude acquire is still on, so that's good. INS has still got us, so that's good too. There's 95. Let's say that ATC has just given us clearance to go to supersonic a little early. So on, up two clicks. The reheat. So we're developing flames.
Mach 1 passed.
Okay, we're at Mach 1. So you notice that at Mach 1, all of a sudden, the climb and descend thing goes a little crazy. So we've got full throttle here, and we're going to continue to increase our speed. We don't want to overspeed. So right now we're at about 2,000 feet per minute, and these things are starting to kick up here just a little bit. As this thing goes up, I'm going to use my rate of climb, my vertical speed, to control to keep us just below this. We keep the afterburners on until Mach 7, 1.7. Yeah, Mach 7. We'll be going to warp factor 1 in just a little bit here, kids. You can see the chrono right now. The chrono is measuring my the time in terms of the reheats, the afterburner time. Okay, so we're slowly seeing this increase, so that's good. We're at about 2,000 feet per minute. We want to hit Mach 2 at 50,000 feet. So that's another little part of this dance that you do here, to try and get Mach 2 and 50,000 feet at the same time. So there's 40,000. I'm going to go ahead and start reducing my rate of climb here. Let's go to 1,800 feet per minute. We're a little slow at the moment. I think we should be faster. Okay, we're going from checkpoint 4 to checkpoint 5. We're doing good there. So the airplane is behaving. I think we could be speeding up a little bit faster. Let's go down to 1,000 feet per minute. We're falling behind on this a bit. There's 40,000 feet. It's 10,000 feet, and we got to get to Mach 2. So we got to get our speed up here.
Feet.
Might need to go to 500 feet per minute. I think I've fallen behind in keeping my speed up here. The whole point of this really is speed up, and we don't want to use too much of our reheats to get to Mach 1.7, because that's burning extra fuel. You probably maybe notice, you're going to notice here a contrail, a chemtrail, if you prefer the conspiracy theory version of it, up here. This is not another airplane. This is our airplane. This is an error in X-Plane. X-Plane has a little thing about the supersonic stuff, and that is essentially a little bit of a bug there. So it's not an airplane ahead of you. I'm sure Austin and the crew know all about it, and they'll do something about it soon.
Mach 1.3. Ramps moving confirmed.
Okay, so ramps moving. The ramps, I believe, are these indicators down here. And so what's happening is in the engines, the ramps are what's kind of redirecting air a little bit, because it's starting to get a little thin up here. And of course, along with fuel, engines like air. But they also, these engines need the air to be a specific kind of air, a specific amount. So the ramps, if I've got all my facts straight on this one, they control the amount of air that's getting into the engine and making sure the engine gets what it needs. Coming up on Mach 1.5, I'm reducing my rate of climb here quite a bit because I want to be a little bit closer to this barber pole. Looking down here, we've got 24 miles to checkpoint number 4, to checkpoint 5. The checkpoint distances increase dramatically after checkpoint 5, but as soon as we get to cruise, we'll start putting in new SIVA waypoints, because you only could do it 9 at a time. Can you imagine what would happen with... Okay, now we're starting to catch up with this a little. So I'm going to go ahead and start moving this up just a little bit here. Let's go to maybe 750 feet per minute, because it's getting closer to this. Maybe a little more. How about 1,000 feet per minute? Let's see what happens. And so this is just keeping these two little things together here. If this is getting closer, how about 1,500 feet per minute? Yeah, it's getting closer. How about 18? Getting closer. 2,500. I don't want to get yelled at for overspeed. Ah, got yelled at. Okay.
Overspeed warning. Throttle back or climb.
Yeah. So 4,000. Let's take some of the edge off there. Don't want to snap the wings off. So I'm still figuring out.
I suggest reheat off.
Okay, we'll do reheat off. It's a little soon. Oh, 1.7, that's reheat. Yes, reheats go off at Mach 1.7. We also can come up here, and the airplane's skin is getting a little bit warm, so we're going to turn off the probe heaters. All right, there we go. Now we got that under control. Let's get our speed back, vertical speed back down. Now the gap is filling, so this is a real delicate little dance here. I don't have this part perfected, but this is one of those things that you'll learn with this airplane. Now there is a control up here, and it is called Max Climb. Some people have told me Max Climb is something I should use. I don't know about it yet. I haven't seen anybody do it, so trying to learn that. There's 46,000 feet. We're climbing too fast now. So we now want to get some speed up here. Now keep in mind, I also have not engaged my auto throttles either. So I'm slowing my rate of climb here just a bit. Right now our throttles are at 101. The gap is building, so let's go ahead and drop this down to about 1,000. And as we're approaching 50,000 feet, we want 50,000 feet and Mach 0.2. Those two are supposed to happen together. So that's how we're become a really good supersonic pilot. So climb at about 1,000 feet per minute. This thing appears to be getting closer. Let's go up to 12.5 feet per minute. Still trying to keep these things, you know, a little bit of a gap in there. We should probably also look outside the window. Passengers are looking up here saying, "Ooh, Mach 1.88. We're in the supersonic club now." Okay, 1.9. So we're slowly doing good. I'm going to reduce our rate of climb here a bit and let these two numbers get a little closer together, because we're about 1,500 feet away from 50,000 feet. How about, and I don't know what the sweet spot is on this yet. There's got to be one there. 1.93. We got 1,000 feet to go to 50,000 feet. Getting closer together. 1.95. Just one little notch here. 1.96. 500. Well, 600 feet to go. We're going to engage auto throttle at Mach 2.1. And we're relatively close. I don't think I get to call myself, you know, supersonic pilot yet. You know, Goose and Maverick are still laughing at me. And we're 5,000 feet, so that's good.
50,000 feet.
50,000 feet. So there's Mach 2. And now what we're going to do is we're going to be ready with auto throttle when I see this click over to 2.1.
Overspeed warning.
Oh.
Throttle back or climb.
There's 2.1, auto throttle. Okay, engine flight rating now goes to cruise. Engine flight rating goes to cruise. There's all that engine flight rating. We can come back here. There are a couple of fuel tanks that are now, I believe, empty. So 5A and 7A are empty. We're going to turn those pumps off. 5A, 7A off. Pump 11 de-ice can go, de-air goes off. And we hold Mach 0.2. And now we go ahead and start reducing our rate of climb now to about 500 feet per minute, because as you can see, we dropped down a little bit. And we want to be at Mach 2. 9,000 feet on the climb. We seem to be catching up to our fake chemtrail here. Now that we're supersonic and we're semi-leveled off, we've been in the air now for an hour and 6 minutes. I'm sure that there is a passenger back there that got the venti instead of the grande, and they're going, oh, I gotta go. So we're going to show mercy. Seatbelts off. Okay, so about 500 feet per minute. That's good. It's Mach 2.2. I slowly reduce that to about 250 feet per minute as we continue our climb to 60,000 feet. This is all about speed. So it's all about speed. So holding 2.2 is the thing to do. Everything else is good. Let's look down here. We are from checkpoint 5 to checkpoint 6 and 6 miles. So if we look over here to see how we're doing, there we go. Took off from London and we got a big long area here. So this is why I'm not going to freak out about SIVA waypoints. But we don't want to run out of SIVA waypoints. 266 miles, got 13 minutes. We'll be at our top of climb by then. Once somebody told me in chat over on Twitch about turning off turbulence, the airplane has become a lot more stable. It just does not handle the real world turbulence the way it should yet. So that's been a good thing to do. 2.1, so we're still holding our Mach. That's good. We're at 101, so we're still at full throttle here. So this is kind of why it is that I reduced this. So we can't get any more speed out of this. So I'm trying to make sure that maybe the auto throttles would reduce themselves to 100 or something. That way we can make sure that we're continuing our climb, but mostly holding on to our airspeed. Current time is 15:22 Zulu. We are supposed to be on the ground at Dulles at 18:25 Zulu. That's my own math. I don't know. Okay, so this is what I like. So there's 100. So if we need a little more speed out of the auto throttles, we can get it. And we're doing a gentle climb, but most important, I'm holding my speed. Oh, and now we're our fake chemtrail is now taken off even more. Flyby. Do you notice the curvature of the Earth on this? Oh, did you hear that? That is our sonic boom. Yes, that's the sonic boom on this airplane. It does model the sonic boom. Some people over on the live stream, on Twitch live stream, have said the sonic boom is a little bit better over in DCS World. So I don't know anything about the developer of this airplane, but kind of like to see. I'm sure that they've got some improvements planned, but maybe modeling a new sonic boom might be nice. Let's see, who is that? That is Colimata, I believe. So it's Colimata that made this airplane. It's right now, I think, about a $50 to $60 US dollar airplane over at xplane.org. I would guess that it might come on sale at some point. But I think if you're looking for the most complex airplane in X-Plane, I don't know of another one right now. I think, perhaps some of the biz jets that are out there, but I don't know. This one's got it for me. We're still holding Mach 2. Our climb is still good. 101, so we're back to full throttle now. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue to reduce my rate of climb. Again, making sure that I maintain my speed, not my rate of climb. And generally, I've found my sweet spot at the moment is if I get this to about 250 feet per minute. Sure, it's going to take a while before we get to our final cruising altitude, but that's okay. If you're using the Philips Payware SIVA system, you do have to account for SIVA drift. I don't believe that this one does that yet. I don't believe that this one does that yet. 201. Okay, there we go. See, again, we've got a little more oomph out of the engines if we need it so that it can maintain our airspeed. Somebody over did, I think that the one-way ticket was like, at the time, over $4,000 or something like that to do this flight. Just one little click here. I try and keep my main heading bug straight up. 2.1, and we're 54,300 feet. Passengers are probably getting their second round of caviar right now. All of this was first class. So everything was first class in this airplane. So it was several rounds of food. Somebody sent me over on Twitch the other day. They sent me the menu, and apparently, you know, it looked like a lot of food, but you also got to remember it's airline food. So that means, you know, what you'd get on the ground is like this, and airline is sort of like much smaller. Although years ago, I did see a story, I think it was like in USA Today, and the story basically said, do you think that the food on airlines is, the portion sizes of your food is a little small on an airline? And they said, actually, it's a lot closer to what your actual portion size of food should be in terms of what, you know, an adult's nutritional needs are. So we're still at 101. So I'm kind of reducing this down more and more. So we're basically creeping our way up, but I don't want to see this drop below 2. It's easy to let it drop below Mach 2. And I kind of don't want it to do that. So I just assume the thing creep up to 60,000 feet. We're still doing about 150 feet per minute. Doesn't need to be at warp factor 10, at least as far as the climb. Looking over here, you can see on our progress map. So we're halfway between these two checkpoints here. And to remind us of what our checkpoints are, we look down at SIVA. We're between 6 and 7. It really is time for me, even though we're climbing, it really is time for me to put in a couple of new checkpoints here. So you may remember this in my list of stuff to do. So we've already put these first waypoints in. Our next waypoint is going to be NAT Track SM4. And SM4 is my own designation. I don't think that they had those names. I don't know. But we need to start putting some numbers in. So come back over here, go to waypoint. Waypoint 1 is going to be north 49160, 49160, west 04 and a bunch of zeros. And insert. There we go. Next waypoint, number 2. And again, the way I do this is I try and go as slow as I can, not just here in Concorde, but whenever I'm trying to put stuff into a SIVA. Otherwise, it just goes off the rails so fast. North, 47030, 47030, west, 05 and a bunch of zeros, 050000. Insert. Waypoint number 3. And this is SM track waypoint number 6. North. 46110. 46110. West. 053 and zeros. 05300. 0, 0. Insert. Waypoint number 4. This is track number 7. North. 44, 14, 0. 44, 1, 4, 0. West. 0, 6. And a bunch of zeros. I love all the zeros in there. It makes it so much easier. And number 5, this is the last one that we can do. And this is actually the end of our tracks. North. And that is going to be 42, 46, 0. 42, 46.0. West. 06500. 06500. And done. I'm going to leave this at 5 to remind me that this is the last track that I've done. We're going from checkpoint 6 to checkpoint 7. I'm going to go back over to distance and time. While I was doing this, I was also looking down here to see what my Mach was doing. Now this is non-operational. This is the passenger display. Let's see how we're doing. Still 2.0. We're still doing really good. And we're slowly creeping our way up to 60,000 feet. Remember, there's not that many airplanes up here, so ATC is not going to do immediate climb to 60,000 feet. You know, it's not going to be something like that. So you really can creep up there to maintain your speed. So here's our notes now. 50,000, use vertical speed at Mach 2. We did Mach hold, engine flight ratings to cruise. We did the tanks, the pump 11 de-icer, hold Mach 2 and climb. Approaching 60,000 is about 500 feet per minute. I'm changing this in my notes. 250 feet per minute. Okay, at 60,000 feet altitude, hold confirm. Mach 2 hold confirm. I'm going to hit file and save on my notes. And that's really the way that I learn a new airplane. So when a new airplane comes out, if it's something more than just, you know, something that I can pick up in about 10 minutes, I usually start a fresh notepad and I just sort of look at that fresh notepad as my to-do list. Eventually, I learn the airplane well enough that I don't need those anymore, and I will start using the checklists that come with the airplanes. But right now with this airplane, I'm going to need this. Okay, we're at 101, so, you know, we could start slowing down. We've got 4,500 feet to go. We're still climbing at about 150 feet per minute. I'm going to do one more click down here and let it go down to about 100 feet per minute. I don't mind. One of the things that I was reading is for the supersonic transatlantic routes like this, you didn't just get a certain flight level, you got like a block of flight levels so that you can go up and down to maintain your speed. There's a couple of websites, and I'll be putting these websites in the description. So one of them is this really neat thing here. This is the Concord NAT Tracks from ganderoceanic. So if you're doing cross the pond on VATSIM, you really need to be spending a little bit of time right now with ganderoceanic. But these were the tracks. So there's 2 tracks going out here towards the west and 1 to the east. So these were the NAT Tracks for this. There's another website that I found, and this one is Concorde Flight Plans. I really wish that I looked at this before, because one of the things is I could have gone with a little more of one of their routes. Here was the Heathrow to Washington route over here. And so I could have done all of this. Now this, the star is a little bit different, but Compton's departure, so this would have been that track, which I think is really pretty cool. Then you could also, apparently they flew to Miami and Dallas. Braniff International Airlines, these were, they would actually put new placards on the airplane, and a Braniff crew would take over. and do the Washington to Dallas flights, which is interesting. Okay, let's go ahead, and it's time to start KIAD. I know we are a long way away from Dulles, but okay, I do see the wind doing the little switch here. We were thinking 19 center. The next thing that I really like to do is let's see what the real world's doing. And to do that, I go to FlightAware. You could also do Flight Radar 24, but I like this one. It's just easier to see graphics. KIAD, Washington, Dulles. And we're going to look down here, and I'm just going to look at the map. Oh, yeah. Washington is now landing to the north. So our runway change has occurred. The runway change has occurred. All right. So we need to make some changes in our flight plan. So the first thing that we need to do is come on over here, and instead of, we're not going to be doing the ILS to 19 center anymore. So we're going to get rid of that. So ILS runway 19. So that's gone. What we're probably going to end up doing is, my guess is they're going to try and bring most people in on one right, and they're going to blast you off on one center and use one left for overspill. Probably not. They probably want to use overspill on one center and blast you off on one left if you have to. They could also blast people off on 30. But I'm going to guess that one right is going to be the better choice of our arrival runway. So we're going to come into charts, IAD, open charts list, and we're going to go and get the ILS for one right. There we go, and pin that in there. So this is our new approach. All that looks good. Over on the Hyper 8 arrival, though, this is going to change. So Hyper 8, I was expecting from Hyper, we would come over to cover and then to Hoosier down here. In this case, we're going to go from Hyper to Sigbee. I'm going to probably do Yak and T-Con so that we can set up for this runway. Now then, what are we going to do for latitudes and longitudes? This is where it gets a little tricky. Let's just go and see. How's our speed? Doing good on our speed. We're climbing at about 100 feet per minute. We're 100% on the throttles. I don't think that we're going to lose speed. So we can go and jump down this rabbit hole. I know I promised no rabbit holes, but guess what? Things change. So let's go over here, and we're going to go to, we're going to get rid of this old nav log, and we're going to go to SkyVector. This is SkyVector. This is where I did our planning. And so we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to get rid of these last few waypoints. So we're going to get rid of Hoosier, Dimkey, and Cover. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so now this is our flight plan, leaves us at Hyper. So now what I need to do is coming over here, after Hyper, we want Sigbee, S-I-G-B-E. Okay, so we're going to put the clicker in here and do S-I-G-B-E, Sigbee. And if it gets big, then it knows that I typed it in correctly. After Sigbee. And I'm not going to put every one of these in here. We're just going to get a few. So after Sigbee, how about Hustle? H-U-S-E-L. So H-U-S-E-L, let's hustle. That's actually an altitude constraint. That's 4,000, we need that. And then let's also go ahead and do Yak, Y-A-C-K-K, Y-A-C-K-K. There's Yak, and then T-Con, T-I-C-O-N, T-I-C-O-N. Now then, let's go in here and let's zoom in and let's just look and see. Does this look about right? Yes, this looks about right. So there is our approach coming in. You can see that this is that turbulence area here, moderate turbulence. It's going to be some big icing here in the nation's midsection if you're flying on VATSIM later on today. And then I'll usually just make this out bigger. Okay, so now we've got our new approach. Now I'm going to hit the nav log button again. Okay, and look down here, and now after Hyper, we've got Sigbee, Hustle, Yak, and T-Con. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can read it. Okay, So we're done with that. Now, there may be another way to do this. I don't know, but this is the only way that I know how to do this right now. So let's go over here, and here's my notes. Okay, so we're not doing Hoosier anymore. So I'm going to delete Hoosier. I'm not doing Dimkey anymore. I'm going to delete, and I'm going to delete cover. So after hyper, it's Sigbe. So I'm going to put a little line in here. S-I-G-B-E. I'm going to go down one. A little line, H-U-S-C-L, hustle. Another line, Y-A-C-K-K. And then after that, Ticon, T-I-C-O-N. Okay, so we got those in there now. Now I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to grab these numbers. So north 3942.6, north 3942.6 space west and 0. They're all zeros here in this part of the world. So Sigbe is 7721.8. 7721.8. And there we go. Now these are not proper digital. Put these numbers. These are not. So there is a rule. I don't understand it yet. So I'm just taking these, and it's not leaving me too far off the track. Eventually, this is one of those rabbit hole things I need to learn. Hustle, 39098, 3909.8 space west 0. Hustle is 77214, 7721.4. I'm generally, like, hustle is 7721.4. It's actually 0.46. I think the digital version is to round the 4 up to 5. I don't know that yet, so I'm still learning. Okay, so then we're going to go down here, north. This is Yak, 3854.4. 3854.4, west 0. Yak is 7721.4, 7721.4 space. And then Ticon is our last one. North 3847, 3840.7, west 0, 7721.7, 7721.7. Okay, there we go. So we now have the transition to go in. And this is the only way that I know to get this kind of stuff into the SIVA system. If you're wondering what these two little blank lines are here, this is where I would put in the ATIS, if I could get a digital ATIS. In fact, we should do that. Let's get the digital ATIS for Washington, D.C. KIAD. IAD, Information Yankee. 290 at 9, gusting to 16, 10 miles visibility. The altimeter approaching use, simultaneous 1 right, 1 center, 1 left, parting runways, runway 30. Oh, isn't that great? Digital ATIS. Yes, I'm going to put this in the comments. All of these tabs that you see me using, I will put into comments. All right, so now we've got all of our stuff here. This is going to get us into the airport. This is this is how we can do our approach. And we're looking good. How's our speed? 2.1. We're at 57,000 feet. Not bad. How's our, okay, we're back to 101. I don't think that there's an awful lot that I'm going to be able to do. We're barely creeping up as it is at about 100 feet per minute. I could drop this one more click, and that's going to put us right on the mark for 100 in our climb and descend indicator. But my whole goal is not to let my speed slip, because those people back there paid thousands and thousands of dollars for a supersonic flight, and they're all jazzed because the Mach indicator there says 2.2 Mach. They're semi-impressed by the feat, how high we are, but they're most impressed by that Mach. So there we go. And at this point, this is pretty much where it is, what it is that I would be doing, what it is that they're doing on this one. Now, there are a couple of videos that I've seen people put out on YouTube, and those videos are on the old, I think that British Airways did a big hour and a half movie and stuff on their Concorde operations. I think that's on YouTube. That'd be great in-flight entertainment for you. We're approaching the point where I'm going to be hitting pause on the recorder, and the only thing that I will be doing is changing waypoints. In fact, we are coming up on a waypoint change, and you're gonna hang with me for another, I guess, 19 minutes, because, well, maybe I'll take a break. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'll make you wait a whole 19 minutes. But on this SEVA, there's something you've got to do. This thing does not automatically recycle from waypoint 9 to waypoint 1. You have to do that yourself. So, as we get to between 15 to 20 miles out of waypoint number 9, I'm going to waypoint change from 9 to 1. And then we'll finish putting in the rest of the SEVA waypoints. So we got a little more time before we hit the pause button. We're still at Mach 2. Engines are at 101. I don't know that there's anything else that I can do. Just hope that we don't, if we go below Mach 2, on my Mach indicator, I'm going to drop this down even more. Because once you go below Mach 2, it takes forever. So if you go to Mach 98, 97, it drops way down. Way down. One of the things is I do have Sim Toolkit Pro up here, and you can see there's our airplane right there. I'm also looking, the red airplanes here on Sim Toolkit Pro are the IVAO airplanes. I'm definitely looking forward to learning more about IVAO. Their web interfaces are nice. Their pilot client is very nice. The people are very welcoming, so I've really enjoyed the experience yesterday. But I do have Sim Toolkit Pro up here so that you get some basic data at the top of your screen. The thing is Sim Toolkit Pro and SimBrief don't handle supersonic airplanes well. So there actually is not a Concorde thing in there. So for most of my tracking here, I'm just coming over here and I'm looking at this. And so you can see there's our flight, and that looks really good. So we got a big area here. Now, there is one waypoint in the middle of all of this, and it didn't, when I inputted the flight plan into Navigraph, it didn't like me. So there's actually one in the middle here. So we've only got 16 minutes until we get to punch a button. How about that? This airplane is one of the first commercial jets, I believe, that ever did complete fly-by-wire. You heard at the takeoff when the guy, when the engineer was going 3, 2, 1, go. You basically just, these are not connected by wires, by cables to the engines. So this was really pretty revolutionary to have these all fly-by-wire. So there is a wire from the controls here back to the tail of the airplane. So this was one of the very first fly-by-wires. So you really do see shades of Airbus. What we see now is a modern Airbus. Okay, let's talk about the gap. So there's this thing at this speed and this airplane and this altitude. I believe it is a 2-inch, maybe bigger gap. So there's a spot right here, and I think it might be over here too. Well, it's not there. But this thing gets wider because the airplane gets longer as the skin heats up. British Airways pilot says out on the wings, you could go out here and fry eggs on them now. So you could dump an egg on there and fry it. It's so hot on this airplane. So the airplane expands, and so there's this thing, and it's between the engineer's panel and this equipment bay here that they call the gap. So there's this gap, which is sort of like, okay, there's an interesting little thing about there's so many interesting things about this old bird. Okay, 14 minutes. We're slowly creeping up here. We're still holding on to Mach 2. Nobody else is really out in the tracks. I mean, even if you take a look over at Sim Toolkit Pro, let's see what we got here. So we're out here in the middle. I got 2 airplanes here. We could also turn on VATSIM and take a look at VATSIM flights. So VATSIM is now green. There's not an awful lot going on here. Slide this over here. You know, it might be interesting to see what's going on in the real world. So let's go over here and let's go to FlightAware. Again, let's look at the real world. So here's the real world, and there's their real world map. We'll zoom out and see what's going on. Okay, so there's an awful lot of people on the northern tracks here. We're a little bit further south. The Concorde tracks we're kind of in between the north and the south tracks here. And these are all the people coming over from Europe. And then at night, they go back the other way. So that, you arrive first thing in the morning, all nice and, smiling after 8 hours in an economy seat. Our flight is currently 1 hour and 38 minutes in. We're approaching about 2 hours, so really in 13 minutes, what I'll do is hit pause. I will come back and see you about 100 miles from our top of descent. Right now, our top of descent is right around a checkpoint.
Fuel status, 60 tons.
Okay, that's about normal, 60 tons. So we're good with fuel. We want to be, when it's time to land, between 10 and 19 tons. 10 and 19 tons is when we want to be there. We're still holding Mach 2, still creeping up there. We have 200 miles till we get to press some buttons here. So what I will be doing is I will go and get more coffee, probably make some breakfast, and then I will look forward to chatting with you. So 232 miles. I'll look forward to chatting with you 100 miles from descent, and that's going to be, I think it's going to probably be somewhere between our last Atlantic track and Albany. I don't actually have a firm top of descent on this one right now. And I don't think that I don't really think that the standard descent rate works on this airplane. So basically, as soon as we get to this checkpoint here, this waypoint, so this is our last Atlantic track waypoint, somewhere between here and the coast at Nashua is when I'll restart, and that's when we're going to start our final descent preps. In the meantime, I will be adding a couple of new checkpoints. So we'll be adding a couple new checkpoints to SIVA. And like I said, I'll get coffee, probably get breakfast. And that'll probably be about all that I'm going to attempt to do. We could look outside. Let's see what's going on. Oh, wow, look at that. Clear skies outside Spy HQ. A nice day in the neighborhood. Oh, my temperature gauges. Ah, there's the temperature gauges. 37 degrees, 3 degrees Celsius. Yes, nice sunny skies, but you know what? It's so much nicer in the sim skies because it's warmer. Okay. 199. 10 minutes to go. We'll do it at 5. We'll do it at 5 minutes to go. That shouldn't affect things too bad. So 10.0. We're still holding on to our Mach. Nothing really to do up here. And in fact, really all we do is we just kind of watch our fuel for a little bit and watch the waypoints check by and enter new waypoints into SIVA. That's all we do until descent prep time. 9 minutes to go. There are some pretty good web resources out there if you're interested in this airplane. So there's this website right here. This looks like it is a British Airways virtual airlines. So there's some more links here too. This is Concord SST. I've looked at a few of these. Flight time analysis, the BA fact book. A lot of this is kind of interesting. Round the Bay tracks. Fuel and CG performance envelope. I definitely needed to look at this so that I could see fuel. Definitely needed to figure out a few things about that. So there's some good ones. Again, all of these are going to be in chat. And I say, let's just do it now. So waypoint change. I would have done this a little sooner, but you've waited long enough and I'm almost out of coffee. So waypoint change, 9 to 1, insert and clear. And that's it. Now we make a slight turn and that's all we do. And now we're free to go and put the rest of our waypoints in. Up to waypoint 9. Don't go beyond waypoint 9, and we're 500 miles away. And that's it. I can't think of anything else to do. Let's do a quick flyby. And I will hit pause and see you 100 miles from descent. Hey, welcome back. We're not quite where we wanted to be when I was going to restart, but I decided to do a little bit of a mid-update right now and show you I have done a couple of things here. So the first thing that I did is after we finally got to our final cruising altitude of around 60,000 feet, and by the way, I was able to hold Mach 2 the whole way up, so I think that was a good thing to do. I did zero out my variable speed after this thing went to altitude hold. So I put that in the 0 position on that. The only other thing that I've gone and done is I've added a couple of waypoints. And to give you an idea of where we are coming up on St. John's. So I'll probably get back with you around Halifax, Newfoundland. And then we'll probably do the descent somewhere in here. I do think that we have to be below supersonic speed by the time we get over the U.S. coast. They don't want sonic booms. Nobody, so that's why we had to wait till we got over the water before we went supersonic as we departed. So we do have to start our descent probably right around this final checkpoint here is when I'm guessing we're probably going to have to start our descent. Somewhere right after there so that we can get below supersonic before we get over Boston. I've got the, you probably saw, I've already got the hyper arrival set up here. We're already good to go with the descent. I'm currently hoping to be at 10,000 feet at hyper. So I did a little bit of the standard math. That's going to be 150 nautical miles from hyper is where we have to start our descent. There are no real altitudes that we have to worry about there. So that means that we start our official descent between Albany and Kiever, but I think we need to be down to about 32,000 feet or so and subsonic at that point. So that's kind of where things are at the moment. I will probably be restarting this video in just a few. So there's the little moving pink triangle. Hey, welcome back. We are making progress, and it's about ready to start getting ready for the descent preparation. We're just off the coast of Halifax here, and right about here, we need to get down to flight level 340 and subsonic. So right after we get here, we're going to see how much distance we have between this checkpoint here and Albany, and we're going to do some guesstimating here. I could have done a little bit better math, but hey, I decided I'd rather go and make coffee. So there you go. Uh-oh, got to turn the camera on, and no, not that camera, this camera. There we go. All right. Thanks for sticking with me. I know it was just a matter of seconds for you. I hope your flight's going well and that the video is helping you get this rather complex airplane do the things that you want it to do. So let's get comfortable and let's do a couple of quick updates here. First of all, let's do a quick weather update. And so here is Dulles weather. Let's hit the refresh button. And looks like the ones are still good, about a 10-knot crosswind from the left. So I'm going to guess that we're going to go for one right is going to be the runway that we're going to be going for right now. Here's the latest weather information. So let's go ahead and copy this into our flight notes. And I usually just copy my weather information over to the remarks, and that's about it. So there's the METAR coming in. Let's go over to KIAD, refresh this. This is the digital latest. Information delta is current. And the METAR is the same, and they're still using the ones in the real world. So we're still going to use the ones in the real world. And let's see, how we doing here? We are about ready to come up here. So I've got my SIVA waypoints up to waypoint 2, so I could do another one. So let's go over here, and we're going to do SIVA waypoint number 3. And that's going to be Hustle, and that's going to be north. And that's 3909.8. 3909.8 west 77214. 77214. Insert. There we go. So we're good to go there. We're going from spot 4 to spot 5. We will have to do another one of those direct twos, the waypoint changes from 9 to 1 again when we go from waypoint 9 to 1. So all of that's looking good. Let's see. A thing just happened. I don't know what or why, but I have lost connection with my moving map. Let's see if my... Oh, whew. This is really kind of helpful. Of course, the real pilots didn't have this right now, but we're still learning, and so we've still got to figure out some of the stuff that, you know, we still need all the help we can get. So still planning to do the Hyper 8 arrival. Coming on in on Hyper 8, we're going to be here at Albany. We come on down here, and the big altitude that I'm worried about now is 10,000 feet at Hyper and 250 knots. And as we make the turn on the transition here for the runway 4,000 at Hustle, TCON will make our loop-de-loop back in for the runway. And here is our ILS. So we can get the ARML VOR. We're going to use that as we get in a little bit closer. We're also going to do an ILS DME. We can get a couple of the VOR stations on the arrival. So Albany, that might be a good VOR. Let's go and do Albany 115.3. And what we're going to do is put that one in over here. So 115.3. This is going to give us DME from Albany. We're not picking it up right now, but that's going to be helpful. On our way in, we also can do a VOR, the Lancaster VOR. That's LRP. And then after Lancaster, we'll do ARML. So we've got a couple of VORs, and that's going to give us some DME. There's the ILS coming on in. Final plunge altitude is going to be 3,000 at Mosby. Let's see, Category 1 landing, minimums are 200 feet. So that looks good. After landing, we're going to be on one right. We're going to try and let it roll out to the Kilo 2. Off at Delta, off at Charlie here. Charlie takes us right in here to this little guy right there, and we think that we're going to try and grab Alpha 32 as our gate. So we're kind of briefing ourselves, figuring out, okay, what are we going to do coming on in? And this is really nice to be able to, you know, get that kind of stuff started to get clear in your head. Okay, we are... let's see, we are coming up, oh, look at that, 11 miles from waypoint number 5. After waypoint number 5, it'll be interesting to see how far Albany is, because that's going to be our next. Waypoint 6, okay, we are 394 miles away from Albany. To get down to flight level 340, I need 78 miles. So I'm just going to kind of guesstimate, and we'll call it, how about 300 miles? So we'll guesstimate this. I could have done a little better job of math on this here, but again, I decided to get coffee. So maybe somewhere about here to get ourselves subsonic and flight level 340. Okay, so all that looks good. Let's also look down here. And so altitude, we're going to go to flight level 340. We can preset one thing here. We'll be presetting the descent rate to 1,800 feet per minute. We're going to get some of our nav radios ready to go. Mostly I'm going to be using nav radio 2 for a DME, and we're kind of going to compare that with what we're getting out of SIVA here too. Because one of the things is you know, on a real SIVA, we'd be having to update our SIVA because it tends to drift. While you were gone, I also changed my view here of the autopilot so that I could see, so I could look down here and I could see the heading indicator, so I could update that regularly. Kind of like to do that. We are at 29 tons of fuel. 19 tons is the magic number. We have to be below that for landing. The other magic number is above 10, so that we could do one go around, but the airplane doesn't like that very much. So we need to be kind of spot on and ready to go. Beyond that, those are the only things that I've really done here while you were gone. Did get coffee, got breakfast. So that was nice. So hopefully you got to get up and stretch. That's another important thing to do with this flight sim stuff on big long hauls like this. When you get an opportunity to just step back from the computer, stand up and walk around a little bit. I think the real world pilots, I don't know what the official rule is, but they got to get up every now and then too. And on flights of more than like 3 hours or something like that, I don't know what it is. But that's why when they carry an extra pilot to relieve people so that they can, you know, get up and walk around, you know, go and, you know, visit the loo, even though, you know, it's probably pretty small on this airplane. Like everything else probably is. Okay, so we're doing good there. 344. Let's go ahead and start our thing. So first, our thing. Let's start pre-planning for our first descent. First step, 34,000 feet. So flight level 340, and our goal is to be subsonic by the coast. So 34,000. There is 34,000, so that's ready to go. Okay, we've got that. We're going to preset our vertical speed to 1,800 feet per minute. Now, we're not in vertical speed mode now, so by presetting it like this, that isn't doing anything. It's just presetting these. We've got our nav stuff done. We'll do, we could go and set our ILS course because we do get busy with this airplane. So we can preset the ILS in the inbound course, which is 110.1, 110.1. And the inbound course for this is going to be 011. There we go. So now pretty much everything is good to go. Now, when we have decided we're going to do our descent, we are going to go and reduce the throttles to about 92%. And conveniently, Mr. Concorde here has given us a little marker here to give us an idea of where that is. So this is a little indicator, and see the first triangle? So we're going to go and release the auto throttles and physically pull our throttles down to this spot here. If you've got something like the Thrustmaster throttles like I do, my throttles right now are all the way forward, but auto throttle has control. So I'm going to physically now move my throttle, and since I'm using the Airbus stuff, I've got the detents, I'm moving my throttle down to the first detent. So I'm going to move that there. So the first detent, I've moved it down a bit. Although maybe that's not the smartest thing for me to do. Maybe I should leave it full throttle because we're almost full throttle right now. Maybe I'll move it down just a little bit so that when I go to take control, there isn't a big power fluctuation and change. Okay, 298 miles. I don't know exactly how far we are to the coast, but I think now is the time for us to do our thing. So auto throttles are going off.
Auto throttle off.
We're going to go and reduce this now. Yep, see how it moved a bit? But I'm going to move that down to that little D10, to that little triangle. It's not a D10. And we're going to look and see what our throttles are doing. There's 97. And 92 is what we want. There we go, 92, so that's good. And now we're going to go ahead and hit the altitude acquire button. And that is going to put us into vertical speed descent. And you can see we preset 1,800 feet per minute, and we have started our descent. Our speed is starting to drop a little bit. Cabin crew is going to start to pick up some of the champagne and caviar, but we'll see. We are now 3 hours and 15 minutes into the flight. It is currently 1727 Zulu. So we want to be at the gate in a little more than a half an hour if my time calculations are good. I'm not going to hold my breath on that. So let's see, we've gone to checkpoint 5 to 6, so we can now do checkpoint number 4. Checkpoint number 4, because SIDS and stars tend to be really tightly packed together, I stay really on top of the SIVA waypoints on my way in. North, 3854.4. West, 0, 77214, 77214. Insert. Okay, there's number 4. I've got one more after that. That's TCON. That's the end of the star. Now, generally, it's really good to pre-plan these sorts of things. To pre-plan your pre-plan these sorts of things for your. It's really nice to be able to pre-plan what your star is going to be and get your latitudes and longitudes so that you can plug them into this. Now, I don't think in the real world they were able to do that very often, but maybe. It's just right now I'm all alone in a very complex airplane, so I need all the help I can get. Passengers, you're doing good. We're not going quite down. How we doing? I didn't set this very well. 1,800 feet per minute is more like that, closer to 2,000, not 1,500. I was going to say we're not descending fast enough. We're holding 92% on the throttles. Okay, now we're trying to get to 350 knots. Is what we're trying to get to for our descent of airspeed. At 50,000 feet, we got a few things to do. So in 6,000 feet. How are we doing here? Well, we're sort of okay. We got a ways to go before Portsmouth there. But we really want to be at least below subsonic here. You know, subsonic by the coast. Another thing that we can do while we're setting stuff up is we can come up here and we can start to dial this up. 200 feet, that's our decision height, that's the radar altimeter. 363, so we're coming up here. And once we get to 350, I'm going to re-engage my auto throttles at 350. Actually, no, I don't think I do that until a little bit. Auto throttle's off. I don't have an auto throttle on. Yeah, I don't know where that is. So we're coming into 50,000 feet. That's my next big thing. I don't see where I would have put that. So I think I might do that fairly quick here. Yes, in fact, I think I'm going to go over here and let's go. I'm going to do hold indicated. And there's 350 on. There's 350, and now it's going to hold those for me on our descent. Our Mach is still going down, so that's good, but we want to hold this as a descent speed. We'll see how this works. I didn't have a note in there about this, so we're coming up on 50,000 feet. We're going to be making a few changes. Okay, the airspeed is still going down. It could be that the indicated airspeed, I did this too soon. I got to get a little bit lower, down to like 31,000 or something before it's going to do that. So that might not have been the right thing to do. We're living and learning, aren't we? Well, we're living. I don't know how much learning is going on. Okay, there's 52, 1,000 feet, and then we've got a few things to do. Okay, at 50,000 feet, I was supposed to reset altitude for the, okay, yeah, that's, so I turned this on a little bit too soon. And we're actually supposed to do this at, yeah, okay, so let's turn that off, and I'm supposed to reset this to 340, and then at 50,000 feet, we can do these things. Okay, that's 83. This should have been 92, so I was moving that down a little bit. See, I was playing with the buttons, didn't know what I was doing. So this is still coming down here. Coming up on 50,000 feet. So one of the things we're going to do is change the engine flight rating back to climb. We're also going to turn on the heaters outside the airplane. I guess you can't fry eggs on the airplane anymore. There's 50,000 feet. Okay, so 50,000, we're going to do flight rating to climb. That's good. Pressure static heaters. We're going to do the ADS1, ADS2, and standby. Heaters are on too. Number 10 tank, D-air, needs to be off. So here's the number 10 tank. D-air goes off now. So that goes there. Reset the altitude. It wants me to reset my altitude for the star. I'm not going to do that yet, but I am going to do IAS acquire and auto throttle and hold us. And then what we can do is we can increase our rate of descent here, and that'll increase our airspeed a bit too, so that we can acquire 350 airspeed. And all we want to do is get down to 32,000 feet. After that, we've got a 72 nautical mile descent from 34,000 feet to 10 feet at hyper, to 10,000 feet at hyper, not 10 feet. Clearly, the coffee is wearing off here. 180 miles now to the Albany VOR. And it's happy. It says that, yep, we've acquired 340 knots. So now this is going to take care of us there. We continue our descent. Okay, 25,000 feet is usually when I do seatbelts in a conventional jetliner, and that is usually when, unless there's turbulence, and the reason I use 25,000 feet is that's pretty much, the 25,000 feet is pretty much when I've noticed real-world jetliners seem to be turning that on. I have, generally thinking, I'm not sure. Okay, we're slowing down a little bit, but that's okay. I really want us to be down, what's our Mach? Is this going down? I hope this is going down because we need to be below Mach 1. And we're kind of running out of time. So we're coming up on the coast here. Because if we go outside the airplane, that's what we want to avoid over the coast. So while airspeed isn't that important, I want to get my altitude a little bit closer. Let's get back to 1,800 feet per minute. We can continue our descent. That's no big deal. But I want this to bleed off a little bit faster. 17:36. We are 32 minutes from when we should be at the gate. Remember, we left the runway about 5 to 10 minutes late. And these are very, very loose, calculations that I made here. Okay, still seeing our Mach go down. One of the things that we can also do is we're getting a little bit closer to our altitude. So we can come into the GUI and go to Flight Engineer and ask them to trim for descent.
Fuel trim to descent.
Wow, trimming the fuel made a big change, didn't it? I think I need to put that in my notes up a little bit higher. There's 40,000 feet. Okay, we are at Mach 1.1. And that's coming down. We're closer and closer to the coast here. Uh-oh. There's land. We're just barely going to squeak by on this. I think we're barely gonna squeak by on this one. How much trouble are we in? We're still out over water, so we're still out over the water here, but I think I need to have that engineer trim a little bit earlier on. I'm gonna move this up a little more, see if that bleeds off a little bit more. Probably not. I'm probably making the problem worse. Let's keep it at 18,000. Quit playing with the buttons. So we're going to be booming over the coast just a little bit. Yeah, I think we are now officially feet dry. And we missed it by half a Mach. Okay, I'll probably have to call the special phone number. Boy, I understand that you've been speeding over the coast. We're going to have to take you down to the station for questioning. We are the speed police, and we do not appreciate that. Yes, sometimes things, you know, my personality changes a little bit in the middle of these things. But hopefully it's funny. Okay, so we are 25,000. We're above that. Now, because we're going to get busy and it's a supersonic, I'm going to go ahead and do seatbelts. So get everybody in their seats. So Nashua, New Hampshire is coming up here. They're going to get a sonic boom in Nashua. Sorry, guys. Still not picking up the Albany VOR yet. At this point, I think we could probably continue our descent. So let's just go ahead and let the airplane continue doing its thing, and we want to be at 10,000 feet at 10,000 feet at hyper. So we'll try and do that. About ready to go subsonic, which is good. Transition altitude in the United States is 18,000 feet. Altimeter here is 30.21. And we are now officially 30 minutes from needing to be at the gate. And there's Mach 1. And there we go. And we also, did you notice a bit of a change in the airspeed there too? So Mach hold, we're looking good there. And we'll just continue doing this thing here. Checkpoints, we are still going between 5 and 6. So that is the end of the Atlantic track and the Albany VOR, which we already have tuned into DME2, so we're going to get that. And one of these should pop up there in a little bit too. Passing 32,000 feet. Now we could be descending a little bit too quickly here, so I'm going to go and roll this back to about 1,800. I did see, I believe the TCAS does work on this airplane. There's Mach 0.9. 334, that's okay, I don't mind that. It's got our throttle down. Auto throttles have us down to 89, that's not bad. I don't think I'm gonna need to do any more throttling and stuff until it's time to start doing the approach. So even the airplane's got these, so I'm going to physically move my throttles down to the bottom detent, the last detent, the managed detent on the Airbus throttle set. That's about going to be when I'm going to want to take control of the airplane and reduce my own throttles and get ready for reverse. We are 92 miles from Albany. Still not picking up the VOR though. Going from spot 5 to spot 6. I call the waypoints, I call them spots. I don't know how I picked that up. But there you go. So now our sonic boom is not booming. So the sonic boom police are not going to be breaking down the door after all. What's that you say? We were a little too fast over the coast. Oh, I don't remember. Do you remember that? No. We were just sort of sitting here drinking coffee and talking about that new movie. Did you see that, officer? See if he could change the subject. Okay. Passing 28,000 feet. I think we're descending a little too fast now for 10,000 feet at hyper. So I'm going to go and reduce this here. So between Albany and Kiever, I think we're a tad bit too high now. A little low. So I'm going to reduce this just a little bit. Again, I don't have any math to back that up. It's just what I'm seeing. We don't want to get too close to 10,000 feet because then we have to reduce our speed even more. And to be honest, our speed's kind of low as it is. Let's go and see if the auto throttle will pick us up a bit. 340 knots, indicated airspeed. Let's see if this will speed us up to 350, 340. Well, okay, that's best. We said 340. Oh, we're picking up the Albany VOR right now. The Albany VOR is 76 miles away ahead of us. Right now, SEVA says it's 75. So when these numbers are within about a mile, that generally means that your SEVA is doing well. Your INS SEVA doesn't need a DME update. There is a DME update procedure for the Philips payware. I don't really have that set up right now, so I can't tell you how to jump down that rabbit hole. But we seem to be doing pretty good here. Here's how we're doing. So this is the Kiever website. So that's Kiever right there. Hyper is here. We are way too low. So we're going to stop our descent. We are at 25,000. We're going to stop our descent at 24,000. So we'll rocket down the road at 24,000 on this. So 24,000 feet. And now let's do the conventional math. So we're going to stop at 24,000 feet. So 2, 4, 1, 2, 3 minus 1,000 times 3 divided by 1,000. We need to be 70 miles away from hyper. 70 miles from hyper to make it to 10,000 feet. So on the hyper arrival, looking over here, here is hyper. So there is, let's go ahead and start adding stuff up now. So clear the calculator. So hyper to bins. Let's see, what do I have first of all? I blew off a bunch of these. So hyper to LRP, to the Lancaster VOR. So that's 11.6 plus bins to lurch, it's 4.8 plus lurch to Delro is 16 plus 9 to Joan, and to Lancaster it's 8.9. That's 50 miles. We said what, 70 to 80 miles? So after that, so there's 26. So between Sarah and Jets, I think we need to be 25 miles from the Lancaster VOR is our general descent. So let's call it, and I'm writing this down, 25 miles from LRP. LRP. Okay, that's my descent. Let's see how that works. What could possibly go wrong? We're going to hold 24,000 feet for a while. We're going to hold 350 knots, so that's good too. We are going from 5 to 6. We got 47 miles. And when we go to the Lancaster VOR, 25 miles from Lancaster, we're 40 miles away from Albany. So, and we got 2 checkpoints between Albany and Lancaster. We'll put the Lancaster VOR in when we pass Albany in 44 miles. And let's see what happens. All the passengers are now looking at their watches. It's 17:49. I think we're going to be probably more than 10 minutes late. But we picked up some very, very strange winds. Plus, there was that unidentified flying object that we had to dodge on the way out over the Atlantic. So we're probably going to be a little bit, going to be late. Those UFOs, that's a very serious problem. You see, when you're late, you can come up with all sorts of really great excuses, right? Okay, looking good there, 340. Don't know that there's really anything to do. I guess we could do a direct to. Let's go do a direct to, direct from Albany to Atwan. So direct, waypoint 0 to 7. Waypoint change. 0 to 7, insert, change. So they just let us blow off Albany. So now let's grab Lancaster, which is 117.3. So 1157, 1173. We're not picking up Lancaster. And we can put some more waypoints in. Boy, always fun to do waypoints. So we just did 4. We need to do 1 more, which is number 5. So let's do waypoint 5. And that's going to be north 3840.7. North 3840.7. West 0. 77217. 77217. Insert. There we go. Our waypoints are done. Everything in. We got 63 miles to Atwan. We have another checkpoint called Kiever, and then Lancaster. Reset my heading bug. There we go. That's good. We'll hold 24,000 feet for a little bit and hope that we get a 25-mile we'll pick up 25 miles from Lancaster, start our final descent to 10,000 feet, our semi-final descent, and we should see if we hit that at hyper. And we also have to have our speed below 250 knots at hyper too. So we've got a speed restriction that we have to hit. I think that's the only one. Yep, that's our big slowdown right there is hyper. So 340, we're looking good. So the little direct 2 that we did, you can see we kind of cut ourselves off of Albany, and we're coming up in here. And so this should be, that's at Mons. So that was the direct that we did to ourselves. So we shaved a little bit of time coming into Washington. That's Kiever. And I believe this is LRP. Yep, there's the Lancaster VOR. I think we're going to be more than just a little bit, more than just 10 minutes late, because we have, you know, less than 20 minutes to be at the gate. All the passengers are now looking at their watches. Some of them are angrily saying, I want a refund. There's a terrible way to run a railroad. Fuel, we are at 22.6. Remember, we got to be below 19 and above 10 for landing. So I think we're going to be pretty good here. I think. Generally, this airplane and that, you know, I kind of like to keep it at 190, you know, until final approach, and then I'll drop it to about 180 at the last little bit. But wonder if you really could see anything outside these windows. One of the things that I try to do from simulator to simulator and airplane to airplane is I try to have the same quick views set up. So, you know, especially an X-plane, the number pad on your keyboard, 0, 1, 2, 3 through 9. And you can also set up quick views like that in Microsoft Flight Simulator too. It takes a little work, but you can do that. Well, I've got a standard little thing that I do, and these are my quick views. And this is just a little grid that I made a long time ago, and I try and make from all the different airplanes that I have. 0 is always my main pilot flying the airplane view. Number 1 is always the flight control unit or the autopilot. Number 2 is going to be the McDo or the SIVA. Big instruments. So big instruments, this is a good view to have. There's big instruments. The next one, number 4, is what I call the PFD and the ND. So that's closer. Number 5 is going to be the upper panel, and for airplanes like this that have an expanded upper panel, I'll make that number 8. Number 6 is always the pedestal. Sometimes if I need a flight engineer, I'll do that. Number 9, this one's my flight engineer on this airplane, so I'm changing these around a little bit. And number 7 is either the looking out the right window or a cabin view. So setting up something like this so all of your views are always the same like this, it really can help you out, especially when you get busy. If you know that your upper panel is always button number 5, no matter what airplane you're flying, that actually really makes your day a little bit better. 25 miles to checkpoint number 7, so everything's good to go there. We do have to do the waypoint change again from 9 to 1. These are going to happen fairly quickly. And let's see, we're done with Albany. We've already got the Lancaster VOR set. 1173. Yep, we're all ready for Lancaster, and that gives us a DME for our final plunge to 10,000 feet. We've set everything else. The next thing also we're going to set is an altimeter. As we get in a little bit closer, it's always kind of nice to go over here and just go ahead and hit the update button. See if there's a change. Altimeter is 3021. This weather is 1652. This is the same METAR. Generally, you'll find an update for METARs about, top of the hour thereabouts. So we're getting close to the top of the hour, so we might get another METAR on the way in. 15 miles. One of the other things that I'll do as we're coming in is, because the SEVA is just numbers, I will go and I will highlight at this point what waypoint we're going to. And that's over on my little notepads list right over there. Boy, does that make life a little bit nicer. So 1 minute to Atwan. Still didn't get much action out of the wind thing on this, so I don't think that one really worked too well. And 876, so coming on down about a minute, and then we make our turn. 10 minutes to get to the gate. It's a late arrival. There was one flight that I was on a very long time ago. It was Chicago to Dulles aboard a United Airbus. And the pilot on that flight was absolutely hilarious. He was funny as hell. And he was, all sorts of great jokes and stuff from the cockpit. I think he even did a snakes on a plane joke or something like that. One of the things he did is the airplane was rolling up to the gate. And as soon as it stopped, the engine shut down. The pilot made a comment about, well, folks, we realize we got a lot of business travelers here on this flight, and, we're real sorry, but if you look at your watch, you can see that we are 8 minutes late. We realize that some of you might not be too pleased about that. As a service, we'd like to let you know this is who you can contact about that, and read off some guy's name and an address. Well, United is based in Chicago. The address he gave us was someplace else, and the name was not the president of United. It was actually the name and address of the president of U.S. Airways. And the only reason that I knew is I was a reporter at the time, and I knew where their corporate headquarters was because I did a story with them recently. Not recently, but close to that time. So I got the joke, and a few other people chuckled at that, but not many people, I think, got the fact that a captain on United says, hey, if you got a problem, write to my boss. And he gave the boss of another airline. I took a long time to tell that joke, but I thought it was funny. Still waiting for Lancaster, and we have now passed, so we are going to checkpoint 8, that's Kiever. So I've gone over here and I've re-highlighted that on my notepad. And this one's a shorty, just 3 minutes to Kiever, and then LRP. We'll see how far away we get from there before we start our descent to Hyper. I'm going to go, and one of the things that they say is you start to get in a little bit closer, start moderating the rate of descent, the vertical speed, so instead of 18, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 feet per minute. I think I'm going to do 18 for this descent, but then as we start to do the rest, we'll do the other one. We'll go to 10. Looking over at the flight notes here at 10,000 feet. So we'll do altimeters at transition, speeds 250 knots, auto throttle, IS hold, engine rating's going to change, landing lights, brake fans, engine control schedule goes to approach, trim the fuel for landing. There was a thing to turn off fuel pumps 6, 7, and 8. Visor goes to 5 degrees. Radar altimeter, we've set that to minimums and hope that our fuel is below 1900 by that point. And we're actually getting fairly close. So what's good is we'll start a descent. We're going to be closer to 10,000 this time. This airplane is a thirsty little airplane here. So 16 miles and 2 minutes to Kiever. As we look over here, we can zoom this thing in a little bit more. So passing Newbury, there's New York City, Philadelphia coming in. This approach keeps us away from Baltimore and the traffic in the other DC approaches here. Richmond, Norfolk, and Virginia Beach is over there. So this is all pretty good. And that is descend Lancaster to Hyper. So 25 miles out of there. Let's see if the math holds up. My guess is probably not. 9 miles. And we can also read it down here. Even though it says the airspeed, we're still moving along at a ground speed of 479 knots. So we're actually moving along pretty fast here. Passengers still angrily looking at their watches as they see that it's 8 minutes to the gate. 7 minutes to the gate now. Now, this was actually, I'm going to cop my excuse here, my arrival time was a very, very loose estimate. There is a website that has the original Speedbird timetables. It's not, they've got the data from them. They don't have the original ones, but the data from them, I really should have looked at that for my arrival time. All right, so there we go. We're now going to waypoint 9. How far do we have? We have 113 miles. So 113 miles. Remember, we also have to do the waypoint change here too. So we can go and preset ourselves for that. It's 10,000 feet. And our next speed will be 250 knots. I usually do 240. So in case there's a tailwind or something pushing us over the ground a little fast. So 250 knots is going to be our next speed. Altimeter's at 1800 and it's 3021. Let's go ahead and maybe we've gotten that updated METAR. Let's see if that's updated. So this one was 1652. And this one is 1752. Here is our new METAR. So Control C, and I put those over in my flight notes. Let's also go to IAD's digital ATIS, and it's probably information echo, and using the ones for the runways. So our runway is still good. So that's good. And let's go ahead and I'm going to readjust this heading hold. The heading bug, I mean. So that's good. We have 102 miles. We are not picking up the Lancaster VOR yet. We decided, 25? I may be a chicken and do it at between 50 and 25. Just cuz. And yes, over on the spy flight, we have a special chicken sound effect that you get to use. 1805 Zulu, 5 minutes we're supposed to be at the gate. We're not even gonna, even our departure time, our small departure delay. I was actually hoping that we were going to be a little closer, but I should probably do better estimates. Okay, we're coming in here, so I zoomed this map in. We're a little closer. So Allentown, Bethlehem, there is Trenton, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Camden, Baltimore. So that's all pretty good there. There is, and there is Reading. I think they call it Reading here in the United States. Maybe it's Reading here too, I don't know. And we are on our way into LRP. So I've also gone in here and not only updated my METAR up here, but I've also gone and put in and highlighted that. That's my next checkpoint. You don't have to use Notepad. You can write it all out if you got a printer. And in fact, when I was just starting out flight simming and stuff like that, I used paper all the time. If you're new to something like IVAO or VATSIM or Pilot Edge, I do suggest having a notepad, a piece of paper and a pencil. And so when you get like a clearance or taxi instructions or just almost anything, as soon as ATC calls you, instead of reacting to it in your cockpit, grab your pen and write it down. Write it down as they're saying it, and then react. Chances are your reaction time to the point when ATC tells you to do something and the time you need to do it is not, there's enough time for you to go ahead and write it down. That way, it's just right in front of you. You don't have to ask them to repeat it. It's okay to ask them to repeat it. Nobody ever wants to do that, though. Fuel's at 20, so it is going down, but hopefully our descent will save a little gas. 79 miles out. We decided on 25. Let's see how close I can make myself go to 25 before I have to just push a button. That's one of the things with these automated airplanes. You sit here, especially on approach, and you want to do something. Well, can't really. Okay, look at this. We've got the Lancaster VOR, 75 miles. So the actual DME and the SIVA are both the same. So that's pretty good. 9 minutes. So if I can calmly wait for about 6 minutes, we'll be closer to that 25. All we have to do is we're going to hit the IAS acquire button first, start the airplane slowing down a bit, and then we'll hit altitude acquire. So we get a little bit of slowdown and then start the descent. So this one...
Fuel status, 20 tons.
Yep. So now we're starting to get close to... We should be a little bit closer to the airport here. I would have liked to have been a little closer. Let's see if we can get this thing in on fumes. There are some fuel planners that you can use. I haven't found a good one for the Concorde yet, so gonna have to go and dig a little bit deeper. That is a great rabbit hole to jump down, and that fact is fuel planning is probably really going to be my next rabbit hole for this airplane. Okay, coming up on 60 miles. Fuel is now 19.8. So it looks like we'll start this descent to 10,000 feet at about 19 tons of fuel. Hopefully that means we'll use a little bit less. But these engines just drink. They just drink the gas. These were not the economy. This was not the economy airplane. And you can see these are the Rolls-Royce Olympus 593 engines. You can see the little clamshells on the back for reversers. If you're going too fast, one of the things you can do with this airplane while you're flying like this is you can put engine number 2 and 3 into reverse. Now, all you're going to do is put them into reverse. You don't want to, add thrust in reverse, but that will really slam on the brakes for you. That will slam on your brakes. And according to the clock, we are now a minute late getting in. Passengers are threatening legal action. Very upset. Okay, there's my 50 miles. I said 25. We're running a little low on fuel, so I want to start slowing us down now. We're already late, who cares? So acquire. I want to slow us down a bit. There goes our speed down. So the airplane auto throttles are slowing us down a bit. And now let's do altitude acquire, 10,000 feet. And it's going to put us into vertical speed descent. So I did it, instead of 25 miles, I did it in 50, I know. I was partly concerned as we're getting close to this 19 here, because we don't really want to go below 10. So there's a good, oh wow, that's a little fast there, airplane. Next step is altimeter setting. Altimeter on the way in is 30.18. Obviously, if you're flying with me on this flight, if you're flying along with me like this, my altimeter settings and yours are going to be different. My winds are different. Your runway may be a bit different too. Never really thought about that before. Okay, we're at about 250 knots, so that's good. So we slowed down really good. Passing 21,000 feet, 40 miles from Lancaster. Now at this point, if we wanted to, we could go direct to hyper. And in fact, we'll probably do our direct to in... I'd like to do the 9-to-1 direct to between 20 and 15. The higher your speed, the bigger the number, because it needs more space to do the turn. Passing 20,000. Nothing really to do up here. No buttons to play around with here. We did have to worry about icing. We have don't really have any clouds, so the weather's just pretty nice at the moment. 10 miles visibility at Dulles. We've got scattered clouds at 7,000, scattered at 25,000, so not so bad. Coming up on 18,000 feet, we can go over here and let's set the first officer. I do, you know, on airplanes where I have to manually set altimeters, 31.8, I will set the first officer a lot sooner than the captain. And if there's a backup altimeter, I'll set that one early too. About 18,000 feet, you want to do something with your airplane. And the airplane itself is going to say, you know, ATC is going to want you to do something. So it's okay to do things sooner rather than later. 31.8. And there is altimeter setting for there. Okay, coming up on 10,000 feet, that's next. I reduced my rate of descent to 1,500 feet per minute. We are a ways out. I started the descent early. We still have 27 miles to go. So the next step in the process for me is waypoint change. We'll do that closer to 15. And as you get closer to the airport, some of the people that have done videos on this airplane say continue to reduce your rate of descent to about 1,000 feet per minute. And plan ahead. 24. Almost time to push another button. One of the things that I did wrong the last time I flew this on live stream is for acquiring the localizer, VOR and localizer, you hit this button that arms it. So as you're making your turn to final, this will arm the localizer. I was hitting the land button and that armed land. Well, that didn't seem to work very well. So then someone said, why don't you hit this glide button and here? So this is one of my experiments, is we're going to hit that, because on my last few approaches, it did not acquire the glide slope. It just flew right through it. So I'm hoping that the glide button is capture that glide slope. And I'm going to go ahead and continue to reduce my rate of descent. I started way too soon. We're not even at Lancaster yet. There's 19 miles. So I really want to slow down, although I did slow my speed to 240 knots. How's my gas? 18.3. Probably slowed down a little too soon. That is actually one of the things that I do a little bit, is I slow things down way too soon. Okay, let's go ahead and do waypoint change. I know I said I was going to wait till 15, but I can't help it. Waypoint change. 9 to 1, insert, and then off. You got 66 miles. $66 miles to hyper. So I slowed down way too soon. And I also need to come over here, and I need to change my little highlight thing here to tell me I'm now going to hyper. The real pilots, they probably got a nice little flight plan on their kneeboard, and they just check stuff off. They write down the time. That's one thing you've got to do. If you're going to fly this thing on VATSIM or IVAO event, as you cross these waypoints, especially in the oceanic, you need to write down your time, because your oceanic reporting is going to require you to say, hey, what time you passed. Now, this will also give you an estimated time to your next checkpoint, so this will do that for you. But you need to write that little bit of information down too. I think we're approaching my New England ortho zone here. I don't have complete ortho coverage across the United States. The angle of attack is increasing on us here. We are now 10 minutes late getting to the gate. Absolutely terrible, unacceptable arrival policy. Chief pilot of British Airways is already on the phone. Get away from my airplane. $56 miles to hyper. Yeah, I started this way too soon. On the other hand, in my own defense, I am going to say, okay, it's better to be starting these things too soon than too late. So, I'll drag it in at 250 knots at this point in time, 50 miles before I had to be there. But at the same time, I'm still not gonna sweat this. Once we get to hyper, our next descent point on the hyper arrival is going to be from hyper 250 knots and 10,000 feet. Then we're going to want to go down to 4,000 at hustle. So we got a little bit of a step down, 7,000, 5,000, 4,000. And then at 4,000 around T-Con. So around here, we would then loop-de-loop around, go to 3,000 at Mosby. I'm going to probably go down to 2,000 for Waxon here. And turn in a little bit sooner rather than later, because, we don't want to, we're at 16. It's not tragic yet, but it's getting a little low. I would have rather been at 19 about now. $48 miles to hyper. Man, slowed down way too soon. $11 minutes late to the gate. I mean, not only is slowing down way too soon a bad thing to do, but it means that you have to sit and listen to really idiotic commentary. Okay, so we have passed the LRP VOR. Now let's get RML, 113.5. Thank goodness I have something to do. 113.5. There's RML. The ILS we're going to re-verify, 110.1, 110.1, inbound course, 011 degrees, that's good. We are not picking up RML. RML, I believe, is one of the lower power types of things, but we'll pick that in. That's going to give us a very nice DME to the runway. And we're going to hear a click here. Oh, wait, it's 10,000 feet. We got another 1,000 to go. We'll also be turning on some landing lights soon. So 1,000 feet to go and 42 miles. Boy, talk about dragging it in bad. So what do you say we play a little bit here? Let's go to 290. Airspeed acquire. Let's see what happens.
Should I change it?
Yeah, they're going to start talking about wanting to change trim for landing. I usually wait just a little bit here, but let's get a little more speed before we get to that 10,000 feet. So we boosted it up to 290. Boy, that didn't take any time at all. So let's see if that makes this tick off a little bit faster. We got to be back at 250 or lower in 30 miles, but that just kind of goes zoom. Okay, 10,000 feet. Speeds are good. So landing lights. There goes landing lights. And this airplane has landing lights and things like that drop down out of the airplane, so they drop down. We've also got nose lights that are going to do the same thing up by the nose wheel. But you can see you really can't see them. Yeah, it did drop down pretty nice. There's our landing lights. So that's good. 34 miles, so we'll do this at 290. RML, we're picking up the RML VOR about 74 miles out. Perfect. The tragedy of dragging it in. There we go. Here we are coming on in, so we're direct to hyper. And there's 10,000 feet. So the flight engineer wanted me to go and do my, and the flight engineer wanted me to go and do the trimming. Uh-oh, what don't you like? What did you beep at me for? Uh-oh. What is it? It is fuel. Okay, so yeah, we're getting a little low, 14. We're gonna get yelled at about gas. I've got an idea. Let's go direct to Yak. Yak is gonna be checkpoint 4. Waypoint change, 04, insert, change. So we're going to go direct to Yak. Our next altitude is 4,000 at Yak. I don't know how much time that's going to save, but we're getting close to this, and I've already got enough people upset at me, so we're shaving off another point. Now, ATC would have shaved off a lot of points too in the checkpoint, in the flight plan. They do everything they can to move airplanes through. So we are 62 miles from Yak. So we're at 10,000. So 10,000 minus 4,000 times 3 divided by 1,000 is minus 9? Do I not know what I'm doing here? Minus 4, 1, 2, 3, times 3 divided by 1,000. 18 miles. So 18 miles to be at 4,000 feet. So we'll keep our speed up to 290. Flight engineer's going to start yelling at us about gas. I don't know exactly how much we've saved, but we did a direct to, and we're going direct over to Yak, and we'll get us down to 4,000 there. We'll continue our descent down to 2 to 3,000 and see if we can't get into the airport here. By the way, the airport that we're coming into, Washington Dulles, this is a new scenery from Nimbus. Nobody pays me to say this. I just, Nimbus does a really great job. So if you're looking for a new Washington Dulles, there is a new Washington Dulles available for X-Plane. I'm going to go ahead and they're going to descend us to 2,500 instead because we're tight on fuel. We're late. They want to get the Concorde in. So we're going to go ahead and do our descent a little bit more so we can turn in as soon as we pass Yak and get the ILS and come on in. So 51 miles. We're 52 miles from Armel. We'll kind of continue on like this. And we're definitely in the ortho scenery area for the Washington, D.C. area. You really can make X-Plane look very, very good. I imagine we're going to see some really good-looking scenery coming in from X-Plane in X-Plane 12. It's not going to be the really great photoreal eye candy that you see over on Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I think it's going to look pretty good. And with great airplanes like this, I'm actually, excited to see what it is that we're going to get out of X-Plane 12. 47 miles out. I'll start a descent here in just a little bit. So I need 22 miles for the additional. So 22 miles. We're at 12. We're going to be getting yelled at by the flight engineer all the way down. I think he says something like land immediately. And the passengers are looking at their watches. That's a terrible way to run an airline. I'm going to hit the button at about 30. So Armel, we've got two numbers here on the DMEs. We've got Armel on the right. We've got our ILS over here. And really, that's, the runway and Armel are real close together on this one. So all of that's looking really good. So if it's 22, let's do 32 and give it an extra 10 miles. What could possibly go wrong? Don't answer that. $36 miles. I mean, you just sit here and you kind of count them down. And that 36, this is to our checkpoint. This is not to Armel and that, so those are different numbers. one of the things that I will do after this flight and after I shut down the simulator and we're all done is I'm going to go and look at my log file. And every now and then when you fly X-Plane, if you have a successful flight, go back and look at your log file and look to see if there were any errors. I mean, it's tough for mere mortals like us to be able to figure them all out. Some of the language in a text file is just sort of like, huh, what are you saying? But if you go and you look at those, the text file, you'll see if there is a scenery or something in your install that's giving you trouble, and that there might be errors in. And I will go, and if I see that an old airport that I picked up a few years ago had an error or something like that, or if I'm missing some sort of a library object, I will go and do that sort of thing. Okay, there's 27, that's more. Let's start this descent. So altitude acquired, 2,500 feet. We're at, what's our speed right now? We're at 290. We really need to be good pilots now and acquire a slower speed too. So 250 knots, as soon as we get there, we're gonna do our engine rating to takeoff. Landing lights, brake fans, engine control schedule goes to approach. Then we're gonna let the flight engineer trim the tanks for landing. So there's 250. So engine rating now goes to takeoff. There's the engine rating, so takeoff. Engine rating to takeoff. Landing lights are on. Brake fans, did I turn on my brake fans? Probably not. So we haven't done these things yet. So brake fans need to go on. This goes to approach. So engine schedule to approach. And now we can go and let the flight engineer trim for landing. So engineer and trim for landing.
You will trim to landing.
You can go and visor to 5 degrees. You can remote. You can create a button press for the. You can create a little button press on your keyboard or something for flight engineer controls. I'm also kind of toying with the idea, since this airplane doesn't have flaps, reallocating the flaps control on my throttles to the visor. Okay, fuel aboard. We're a little bit below there. Visor goes full down at 5,000 feet. We are at 10,000. They're going to start yelling at us about fuel any minute now. 8,000 feet. We're going to increase this just a little bit. Now they also, we're going to go and get to 220 knots here. Is going to be my next speed. So 220 as we approach 5,000 feet. There is a speed schedule that you can use. I believe that graph came in with the airplane in the manuals. I'm generally finding at my fuel level, because I'm always coming in on vapors, that about 190 and 180 are just the best numbers for now. But eventually, you know, I'm going to go and start looking at those graphs and figuring out what my landing should be. So we would be talking to tower right now. The airport itself, we are coming up on the airport. And Dulles should be somewhere out there, probably behind that post. It's a little hazy here in the East Coast. Everything else is looking good. We are 11 miles away from Yak. We're going to go ahead and let SIVA send us down to TCON though. And then after that, we're going to take control. There's 6,000 feet. Let's go ahead and acquire 220 knots. And visor now can come full down. And let's go and see the visor. So definitely down a little bit. Plus that thing also acts as a bit of a speed brake and a flap. So that thing kind of cuts down your speed too. There's 220. Flight engineer usually starts yelling at me about fuel now, saying, land immediately. It's terrible. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Okay, 5,000 feet, that looks good. And 6 miles from Yak. After Yak, we have one more checkpoint. That's number 5, T-Con, and we'll start our turn somewhere in there. I'm going to go ahead and reset this to the heading that we expect to be on to T-Con. So that's good. We're really close in. There's 220. And to give you an idea of what we've been doing here, there's Yak, there's T-Con, there's our runway. So the runway should be, I think there's Dulles right over there. I don't think we're going to run out of gas after all. How about that? 3 miles. Let's give ourselves a little bit of room here. I'm going to go from INS to track hold. Let's go over here and we're going to switch from INS to RAD. We're done with SIVA. So this is good and all that looks good. Re-verify 110.1, that's great. Our altitude is 3,000. So coming in here on the approach, we want to be 3,000 at Mosby. We're coming down to Waxman. So everything's looking good. I'm going to go to 180 speed for my base turn. If we were on a network right now and we didn't have ATC, these would be the point where we would be announcing our intentions. So we would do something like, and I believe the call sign for this would have been Speedbird Concorde Flight 441, although I think it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, there's 2,500 feet. That looks good. 190, I mean. Acquire, and let's do landing gear. There comes our wheels. And let's go ahead and let's do 90 degrees. There's Waxen, that's going to be 250. We're going to also get the landing, the taxi lights ready. Taxi lights are good. Let's let the cabin know that we're serious about landing. There we go. If you're like me and you tend to get all comfortable in the chair while you're flying around, now is a great time to sit up straight. Get your feet on the rudder pedals. And there is glide slope and localizer. So that looks good. Square up this just a little bit more. This is going to be rather fast. Okay, we're below the glide slope. Localizer's coming up. I'm also looking at the other stuff too. VOR lock is what I'm going to go for. So VOR lock is acquired, and this time I'm going to be different and have it acquire the glide slope. Airplane. Why did you do this? No.
Autopilot off.
That was wrong. Something didn't work out so well. Captain's got the airplane. And we're a little high. We really can't afford to go around. Come on out here, starting a gentle glide. Acquire 180. This is going to be ugly. Somebody's dog is barking outside, going absolutely nuts. They must know that something's wrong. Okay, there we're on glide slope. I'm not going to make this. Not going to make this at all. This is bad. Terribly bad. Okay. I should be going around. How's my fuel? 7,200. This is not so great. Okay. This is not working out so good. We're climbing a little bit. I'm not making my runway at all. In fact, there's the runway there. Yeah, we didn't make this at all. Let's do 360. We're going to hold our altitude. So we're going to do a 360. Obviously, this is not the way to do it on BatSim. I'm climbing, so at least I'm not losing altitude. So I'm doing a 360 at the end of the runway. I doubt this is what they would approve of in Concorde land. But this is for Flight Sim Becomes Fun. Okay, airplane's starting to come down a bit. There's 90. Let's reduce this rate of turn a bit. We're going down. No. We're not going down. Well, this is a little bit of extra drama for a cold and dark video. I'm sure the people below really like seeing a Concorde doing stuff like this too, 1,500 feet above their houses. Okay, there's a nice gentle turn. Fuel is 6,000. Okay, there's our reciprocal course. Let's stop the turn. See what I get when I tried to come in a little bit too soon. And I'm using more fuel than I wanted to. Patience. Definitely not my strong suit. Okay, we're not descending. Auto throttle is holding us, so this is good. Auto throttle's great. Okay, we're going to go 5 miles to Waxon and try it again. Slight climb. There's 2,100. Pushing the nose down just a little bit, not too much. I don't want to climb, don't really want to descend. I want to just stay here. Okay, we're coming out. There comes glide slope. There comes localizer. We're 5 miles out. We're still holding 180. We've got 5,000. We've still got gas, so we're not crashing yet. Shall we try and make a gentle 360 and try and capture that localizer again? So again, nice little 360. And we'll kind of move over here. Don't want to, so it's climbing a bit. I don't mind too much of a climb, but that's a little much. Slowly coming around. There's Waxon. Let's roll out a little.
Fuel status 5 tons. We are out of fuel. We need to land immediately.
Yeah. Okay, a little bit below the glide slope. Now this is why I don't understand it didn't acquire anything. But okay, whatever. So we're now basically direct to that Waxon waypoint. Glide slope is above us. Up, going down. Stop going down, airplane. Nope, 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 nope. Climb. There we go. Not bad. And I'm watching my localizer needle. Come on, localizer. Start moving. Localizer's not moving yet. It's going to be fast when it does. There it goes. Turn. There's the runway. I always have to sit up just a little bit here. There's our runway. Hello, Dallas. Okay, there's two taxiways. You don't want to do a Harrison Ford here. There's our runway. Poor Harrison Ford. I mean, seriously. People are going to pick on him forever for that. Okay, our speed's okay. Landing gear's good. 4,000 tons.
500 feet. 400. 300. 200. Auto throttle off. 100 feet. 30. 40. 20. Contact.
I think I just bounced.
Reverser deployed.
No, I think I was on my tail wheel. I did that before. Still reversers.
Reverser retracted.
Holy cats. Welcome to Dulles. Well, this is not exactly the way I wanted a cold and dark video to go, but I'd like to say, you know, we did make it. I'm sure the police will be there ready to question the pilot. As well they should. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go over here. And we can turn off immediately these two engines. I think I turned off the wrong ones. Did I get the wrong ones? Oh man, I wanted to do 2 and 1. The two center engines. But there you go. Okay, we're going to turn these things off because all they're going to do is flash at me. All right, let's go ahead and do the landing lights could go off. And concentrate on our taxi here. Now, as you're turning off the engines, we should also turn off... you know what? I'm going to leave stuff alone. Let's get to the gate. How's our fuel? 3,000. That's not bad. One of the things is when I screw up like this, I will generally go ahead and keep running with the video. You can solve problems like this. And while I'm sure my landing was not necessarily pretty, and our friends from Speedbird would really appreciate it if I never flew their airplane again, you can actually solve the problem and make it to the runway. So never give up. Never give up, never surrender. What was that? And here we are coming up here. We were going to go for, there's a single gate here right in the middle, as I recall. We were going to go for gate by the tower, A32. So A32 is what we're looking for. This is a little commuter gate area for the smaller airplanes. The scenery looks outstanding. I looked at this the other day, but it was at night when I got it. So this is really nice. Okay, so we need to go and do the auto throttles for the engines that I inadvertently turned off. We need to do those now. So we've shut those down. We also need to turn off the heaters here. So we're going to get the heaters off. There's no reason to have them on. Heaters are going off. Engines are auto throttles, and that is good. We're also on the ramp area, so we would be turning off altitude reporting. And we're looking over here, and there is our gate right there. I'm just letting this thing do a mild taxi. We'll add a little bit of power on our outboard engines. Fortunately, I screwed up and turned off the engines I could afford to turn off for a right turn into the gate. There is our gate. There's the number. There's the guy standing there. Remember, we're above. Okay, there it is. Oh, it's even labeled correctly too. How about that? At least I got the turning stuff done here. Happy Pappy would like me to remind that you really should turn off your landing lights at this point so you don't blind the people on the ground. And the purple person is standing behind the truck, probably because they know I'm coming. Light brakes. And there they are. And parking brakes. Parking brakes are good. Okay, transponder can go off at this point in time. Transponder is good. We can also shut down engine number 1. So engine number 1 is going to go off now, but we need to leave the one engine on. Passengers, we're going to go ahead and let them get out of their seats now, even though we have an engine going. So that's good. We're also going to drain the mast heaters now. So that's good. Before we lose hydraulic pressure, the canopy, the visor needs to go up. So that's good. Hydraulic switch guards. So back here, it's time to open the hydraulic switch guards. So all of our systems, we open them right now. So these go off. Hydraulic switch guards are good. And we're going to go ahead, and we've got one engine still running. So I think number 2 is running, so we can turn these guys off. And now the ground crew, we should go down here to the GUI, go to aircraft, go to ground, and have the ground power and air conditioning connected right now. So there's ground power and air conditioning. So that's nicely connected. Ground power, air conditioning. At this point, they would be also rolling the stairs up to the airplane. So, although, wait a minute, maybe we've got a gate here. Let's see, did we get a jetway? Oh, wow, look at that. We have jetway already out there. Didn't even hear it. We have jetway? How cool is that? So instead, we can go and we can open the doors. So aircraft, doors and ground, and we're going to open that. We'll also go ahead and do some cargo things. And we'll also do the conveyor belts. So that's good for the moment. Next on my to-do list here, there is this thing called the SSB switch. We're going to flip that. And now we can go and turn off our last engine since we're connected to the ground. So engine 2. The auto throttles go off on those engines. And we do the anti-collision lights now that the engines are off. We also have one last hydraulic system. And everything's good here. Brake fans could go off unless they're probably hot. I stomped on the brakes pretty good. And I think we made it. So the passengers are angrily looking at their watches and saying, so much for this supersonic flight. But, yep, temperature's 14. And so they come up here, and our doors are open. And we have a jetway. We can go walk down the jetway. And so there we go on the jetway. They're starting to model jetways now, which is really pretty cool. Really enjoying the fact that they do that sort of thing. And Nimbus also models the insides of terminals. So that's a really neat thing to do too. So there's another wall, and then it would have taken us into the terminal area here. And since it's an international flight, and this is the terminal area here, looks pretty good. Now, I don't think that you can see your airplane. So the problem is the windows here don't really show your airplane. That's one of the things that they really need to do is set that up. But look at that, we made it. And the lights are off, and we didn't run out of fuel, but you see that you really can make a flight. And you can solve problems too, because things will pop up. So all of this, you see this information here. This is in this information here is in the description for the video. You should also be finding the tabs for these websites that I was using. And if you would like the big, long list of flight notes that I do here, that's going to be over on Discord, because that's probably a little bit ridiculous for cutting and pasting into a description. But I think that that's going to do it. This was a really long video, but this was a really long flight. Thank you so much for flying with me. I really hope that some of this helped you out just a little bit too. As always with these cold and dark videos, this is about clearly not about the right way to do it, but it's not the wrong way. It's just what works for me. I'm relatively new here on YouTube, so I still read all the comments and the questions. So if there's anything that you've got to say or anything you want to know, put that down there. I respond to those either with a comment of my own, or it could be a video of my own too. And of course, I'd certainly like to encourage you to join me on the Spy Flight over on Twitch TV, 757 Spy. We fly every day, Tuesday through Sunday at about 1900 Zulu. In fact, it's time for me to get to work on my next set of flights. In the meantime, we made it, and Dulles is looking really good. I can't wait to go and explore this airport. So hope you are having a great day too. In the meantime, as I always like to stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you online. Cheers.